ladies and gentlemen, welcome to South Boston, Virginia for tonight's running of the South Boston 200 here in the Northwest Tour. I'm Peter Short, and joining me here in the booth here tonight is Peelster. And Peelster, it's your first time here on 3YT, so wanted to welcome you to the booth. But we got some great short track action here tonight for each and every one of you. It is round 2 of this Northwest Tour season. It is the off season, if you like, for a lot of the drivers up Northwest. A lot of the drivers you'll see here tonight on 3Wide TV on YouTube are real drivers racing short tracks up in the Northwest. But for tonight, they go cross country to South Boston, Virginia, like I said, to run on this 4/10 of a mile racetrack. Kind of a unique racetrack at 4/10 of a mile. But Peelster, short track racing is one of those things that drivers love and spectators enjoy as well, just because of all the action it brings. What are you kind of expecting to see out here tonight?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Peter. Well, typical short track racing, you're going to see a lot of close competition, and definitely expect to see a couple bump and runs, slide jobs, get rough out here, but we do hope to see drivers keep it clean as much as they can.
Absolutely. And last week we saw a bump and run for the A-main win. Alar taking that victory. We'll kind of get you a rundown of last week's race. So, Peelster, why don't you tell us a little bit about what happened last week to get things up to speed if you missed it?
42 drivers attempted to qualify for race number 1 of the 2019-2020 Joe's iRacing Northwest Tour Championship. With only 24 spots available for the main event, drivers hung it out in qualifying, with Kyle Alar taking the pole with a lap time of 20.107. Alar's time is the new track record at USA for the Northwest Tour, beating Jason Berg's previous track record of 20.174. The top 16 qualifiers were locked into the A-main, which meant the B-main would see a large 26-car field racing for one of the top 6 transfer spots. Local pro late model racer Zach Washington started the B-main from the pole position, and despite pressure from the entire race from Sean Bretzman, Washington was able to go wire to wire, leading all 60 laps. Bretzman nearly got past Washington multiple times, including one moment where a caution flew right as Bretzman got under Washington. Bretzman was able to finish second and locked himself into the A-main. Newcomer to lead Kyle Franklin was able to transfer by finishing third and last runner-up in points. Jason Boston finished 4th. Round out the last 2 transfer spots were Brian Lambert and Casey Hillman.
Absolutely, and it was a spectacular show all week long, or all race long last week. But here tonight we have a B-main once again, and remember the top 6 drivers from this B-main race will transfer over into the A-main. 24 drivers will compete in that one, and in this B-main race we only have 13 drivers out there right now on the racetrack, but the Ford Mustang pace car right now pacing this field around at about 40 miles an hour. Will be diving now onto pit road. The flagman has the green flag in his hand. There goes the pace car, and the green flag is already out here at South Boston Raceway. And what a good jump up at the front. Carpenter getting a great jump in that machine. There he is, bright green. You can't miss that machine out there on the racetrack. But right behind him is the very, very hard charging 00 machine of Chris Moran. There he is, working his way through turn number 2, and already this field starting to get a little bit opened up. That's a very good thing. They have 60 laps here tonight to kind of settle their way about 6 at advance, but last week we saw quite cautions in the B-main, but so far nice and clean and green, and everyone kind of getting single file here. As the number 15 and the 8, they're still side by side. They're going through turn number 3 and 4. Very good run between those two. There we got the number 2 machine up near the front of the field, I do believe. And he's under pressure from the 16 machine right behind him. So very, very interesting to see these two do battle here in the early going. But Peelster, pretty much everyone down there on the inside line. Oh, we have a caution.
Caution's out. Yeah, looks like it's going to be the 55 car, slow on track. Wonder what happened to him.
That is the number 55 of Alex Mendoza. Let's see if we can sort this out for you on the 3Y TV replay. Looks like he was already turned around at that point. You can see the yellow stripes on the back end of that machine indicating he is a rookie. He's got the number 15 machine right behind him. That's Nick Bellamy. And, a little bit of net code there. And that's what put that number 15 spinning. The 8 machine there of Travis Barnes, unfortunately, coming across car, once that went around, the number 8 machine had nowhere to go. See what happens here, looking out back, and yep, there's that contact right there, that little bit of net coat. And Peelster, that's something, regardless of what racing game you're gonna race with, net coat is just something that's gonna happen. It's gonna end some people's nights.
Yeah, it's a really unfortunate thing. There's not much you can do around it. Netcode is just one thing that you have to deal with when it comes to racing over the internet. It's just like any other mechanical issue you might have in real life.
Absolutely, and there's that number 55 machine. You're going back out in that machine, and still we have the number 31 of Brad Carpenter up at the front. Chris Moran currently sitting in the second position. The 47 of Josh Robertson sits in third, but currently in the cut line in the sixth position, that is the number 2 machine of Gary LaViolette. And that is really the position that we're going to have to focus on the most here in this transfer race, is who will make it into the A-Main 6th place and better. But Brad Carpenter right now behind that pace car, just waiting to see if the pace car lights do turn off. They're still on here. Kind of a lengthy caution here at South Boston, even though it is such a short track. I know last week when we were at USA International, that racetrack is quite a bit longer than South Boston, and it even felt like the caution flag, or the caution period, was shorter than this one. So nonetheless, they'll still continue to stay right behind that Ford Mustang pace car here, as we are now working lap number 9, about to be lap number 10. And we do now have the 1 to green, so all these drivers will be able to pull those belts tight one last time. Once again, the number 2 of Gary LaViolette sitting in the 6th position, last car inside the transfer into the A main. The number 16 machine, that is Andy Fuller right behind him, in the 53 of Jade Williams, looking to see if they can get their way into the top 6. But green flag back out here at South Boston, colloquially known as Sobo by a lot of the drivers here in the sim racing. But great restart by Brad Carpenter up at the front to jump way out to the lead. But look at this battle just behind them. That's the 911 machine, Adam Palm, and he is trying to get his way past the number 47 machine. We're right on board with that 911 machine. What are you seeing out front of this 911 machine, Peelster?
Well, looks like we've got Jim Cruz right in front of him as we ride on board with the 911 of Adam Haim, trying to chase him down. Definitely hard pass at this short track here. They'll be running for a while. Looks like, what kind of speeds are they running here at this track, Peter?
Well, up at the end of the straightaway, they'll be well over 100 miles an hour, up about 110 miles an hour. They'll drop down to about 80 or so in the middle of the corner. You see some sparks flying off the right side of that number 47 machine of Josh Robinson as he works his way down the backstretch. There's the number 96 machine, and the 96 machine is Casey Garber, and this is the battle for the transfer spot. We have contact
got a
with
wreck
53
behind them.
Yep, Jade Williams in the 53 has gone around and contact the number 17 machine, also in the wall there. It did appear the number 17 of Brent Holloway getting a piece of that accident. We'll see exactly what happened here on the 3-wide TV replay. There's the number 15 machine. Remember, that is Nick Bellamy, already involved in one accident. There's just a coming together there, coming out of turn number 2 between those two, and unfortunately the number 17 nowhere to go and got a piece of it. But that is definitely not what you want to have happen early in this race, Peelster.
Yeah, absolutely. Looks like the 53 car took a hard hit going into the outside wall. What kind of damage do you think he'll be able to repair and get back out there?
Yeah, I mean, interestingly enough, last week we saw this at USA. These cars are pretty resilient to damage. It's pretty crazy to see the end of last week's race. We had a lot of race cars that had torn up front ends and rear ends and performing really well. So hopefully that number 53 machine of Jade Williams will be able to compete, running in the 8th position prior to this contact, and will now be shuffled well back in the field, back behind the number 55 machine, who's already had some bad luck in this race as well, the 55 of Alex Mendoza. Break for a couple of these drivers out here, and of course they do have the 2-strike rule here in effect. here in the Northwest Tour presented by Joe's Racing Products, if you cause 2 caution flags in the same race, and you are disqualified from the event. And furthermore, if you're one of the drivers in the B main and you cause a accident, it also transfers over to the A main. So if you cause one in the B main, you only have 1 left in the A main. So a lot of these drivers will be thinking about that here tonight. You also have to take an end of longest line penalty if you do cause a caution. So that is kind of a double whammy, but nonetheless, Brad Carpenter once again up the front, going to get the green flag here. And we've already seen a few good jumps out of him tonight. And once again, going to get a pretty good jump there right at the line as the green flag flies once again, headed off into turn number 1. Got the double zero, the double zero of Chris Meringue. Ooh, the 96 back there might have got a little bit squirrely out of the corner. And Pielster, these drivers are not allowed to take any tires this entire race. They'll, of course, get fresh tires if they do transfer to the A main. But here in the B main and in the A main, the tires they start the race with will be what they finish the race with. And as a driver, how concerned are you about tire wear even early in the running?
Yeah, caution's out. We'll get to that in a moment. Let's see how maybe we can get a replay on what's going on. 55 and the 53. That's going to be, looks like Alex McDonough and Jade Williams. Yeah, more netcode. Maybe not. Oh, yeah, it looks like the 15 car got up into the 53, and at 53 went up to the outside wall. 55, 15 car, that's going to be Nick Bellamy again. And those 3 cars, they got together in that previous caution too, didn't they, Peter?
Yeah, it seems like those cars have had a magnet with one another here tonight. That is definitely not you want to start race 2 of this very lengthy Northwest Tour season. I think all those cars will just about be totaled at this point. Even if they were able to run that last run, they definitely accrued a lot more damage here, as you can see from high above in the helicopter kin. They're going down the front stretch. Oof. Yeah, definitely hard into the outside wall. Nowhere for the number 55 machine of Alex Mendoza to go. Yeah, we saw a little bit of netcode there out of that number 55 machine in the 53 of Jade Williams. And that didn't cause it. That definitely got that number 53 moved up the racetrack a little bit. Looks like it got a little bit sideways prior. Did bring up the yellow. So once again, we kind of saw this last week. A lot of netcode out there on the racetrack. And like you said, that is just something you have to deal with when you do race online, and definitely not what these drivers want to see out there. And once you start to see a little bit of net out there on the racetrack, a couple of drivers be affected by it. How does that affect you as the race car driver? Are you going to try giving these drivers a little bit more room?
Yeah, absolutely. You see netcode issues happening, you want to make sure that you leave some extra space, and that way it doesn't end your night prematurely when someone just lags up into you. If you see someone having some issues, try to give them some space, and if you can, pass them as quick as possible. We're going to be 1 to green here, coming up with 35 to go, it looks like. Looks like right now we have Carpenter still leading the pack. And so this car is in the wreck. Looks like we're going to be going green here.
Yeah, green flag back in the air here at Sobo. And like you said, Brad Carpenter leading the way so far has led a lap, kind of taking us back to last week when we were able to see one driver pull away in the B main and lead flag to flag. Will he be able to hold on for the last 33 laps now as we near the halfway in this B main? This is a battle between the number 2 Gary LaViolette and the number 16 machine of Andy Fuller. This is the transfer position. Currently, Gary LaViolette, you see that down in the top left of your screen. He started in the 7th position, but he is currently running in the 6th position. That is where he needs to be to pole vault himself into the A main. But that number 16 is hard charging. See that number 16 right down there on that yellow line, trying to get as much grip down there as possible. And I'll tell you what, this is a pretty frustrating place to pass as a race car driver, just because you really have to time your move, as we have a little bit by side battle just in front of them. That's the number 47 machine of Josh Robinson and the number 911 machine Adam Helm, there on the high side, and they're still side by side coming out of turn number 4. It's really disorienting both as the race car driver and as the spectator and commentator to figure out which side of the racetrack you're on. Are you in turn 1 and 2, or are you in 3 and 4? But as of right now, they are in turn number 4, and that number 911 machine has been able to get himself out front. But watch the number 96. That's Casey Garber. He is trying his absolute best to get that high line and use that high line to its advantage. We saw that last week at USA. Once that high line started to come in, we saw a couple of drivers able to make passes out there by pinching the inside car down and preventing them from getting a run out of the corner. So nonetheless, we are seeing that here again tonight. That number 96, Garber just not quite able to get that move around Robinson just yet. Ooh, possibly a little bit of contact there in turn number 1 and 2. That might open the door now for the number 2 machine of Gary LaViolette. He, remember, is your transfer position. Do you think he's going to try and dice this one up, or do you think he's going to try and play this one cool here, Peel, since he's in the transfer spot?
This early on, playing it might be his better bet here. Looks like this is a battle for 4th place right now, and looks like that 96 car did get by in their single file again. If I was the 2 car, I would have tried to follow him through there, but it just, it looks like you got a bump, and 47's turned around.
No call just yet. There's still green flag out on the racetrack. That 47 spun down into the inside flat portion of the racetrack, the apron, and that is just tough break for that number 47. We'll see what happened here on the 3-wide TV replay, just going into the corner, and that number 2 just kind of nudged him, didn't hit square, and unfortunately for the number 47 of Josh Robinson, he is now going to find himself well down the order, and that contact will be looked at by the admin officials of whether or not they plan to penalize the number 2 machine for that contact. But at least for now, that is going to shuffle your transfer position up just a little bit. Violet now up into 5th, and Andy Fuller will now assume the 6th position with Jade Williams. Remember, that number 53 machine is going to be moved up. There's that 53. Remember, the 53's been involved in quite a bit here tonight, and in 7th position.
Yep, that's right. And looks like we got 2 B mains tonight. Peter, what can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so looks like we got enough actually to get 2 B mains. That is news to me, so definitely awesome to see we have a lot of entries. So what that means, believe it or not, is we've been talking about the top 6. Well, we don't need to talk about the top 6 anymore. We need to talk about the top 3. So Brad Carpenter, Chris Meringue, and the number 911 machine of Adam Holm, those are your 3 transfer positions. 4th place is not transferring to the A main. So it looks like we got enough cars right there at the end of the qualifying section to cause us to have 2 B mains. As we look out back of the number 911 machine, you see a lot of space there between Adam Holm and Casey Garber and the number 96. That is exactly what this 911 machine wants to see. Because he is currently in the last transfer spot. If you're just now joining us, we'll have 2 B mains. That was news to me just about a minute ago. The top 3 drivers will move into the A main. We do already have 18 drivers moved onto the A main. 16 drivers got in on qualifying time. 2 drivers will receive a provisional. That is yet to be determined what drivers will receive that provisional. But on top of that, we'll have 3 drivers transferring from this B main and 3 drivers transferring from the next B main. This is the inside row of the last 3 cars in the A main. But nonetheless, there's the number 16 machine. That is driven by Andy Fuller, currently sitting in the 6th position. Needs to gain 3 positions and needs to do so quickly as laps are winding down. Ooh, Jade Williams wall there coming out of turn number 2. Some sparks flying off the right side of the number 53. And look at those brake rotors glowing. You can see them all the way around the racetrack and on board. Some Ayrton Senna helmet there. That number 53 of Jade Williams. But yeah, you can see those brake rotors glowing hot. You can see once they clamp down on the brakes, getting into the corner, you can see that contact patch just heat up. That's pretty darn cool that iRacing has added that. But now we only have 11 laps to go. Laps go down very, very quickly here around this 0.4 of a mile racetrack. Just under a half mile, and we have a battle now for the 2nd position between Chris Meringue and Adam Holm. definitely that 911 machine has been fast, and that 911 was able to use that high line to his advantage earlier. We'll see if he can do so here. And Pielster, what is the benefit of running that high line around a racetrack like this, beyond getting clean air on your nose?
Well, running the high line does allow you to save some tires, because if you're cutting the wheel in on the apex of the turn, that will burn your tires out. So some drivers might want to run that high line, save their tires, carry a bit of speed around. But sometimes you do have to cut down at the inside to try to get up underneath the guy in front of you. Looks like that's what the third place car was trying to do there.
Yeah, trying to possibly pull off an over-under maneuver, but for now, Chris Meringue holding on to that second position. We don't see anything of the Brad Carpenter machine as he has pulled away here up at the front. There's a battle now from the fourth position through the sixth position, currently held by Casey Garber. And man, look at that number 2 machine getting right up on his back bumper. Number 2, Gary LaViolette. Once again, he's already used that chrome horn once in this race. Luckily, he wasn't able, or didn't bring out a caution, I should say, as we've now stayed green for about the last 25 laps or so. We go on board with that machine, and unfortunately for him, he's running out of time. He needs to gain 2 more positions here in the last few laps if he wants to transfer into the A main. But man, Carpenter is checked out. 3.8 second lead there on the left-hand side of your screen. That is very, very impressive. Definitely cementing himself as a main driver, or a transfer driver. As that number 2, Gary LaViolette, now using that outside line. We just talked about this a little brief second ago. As they're pretty wide now. The 16 machine, maybe a little bit of contact there in turn number 1 and 2, and that number 2 machine got shot way high. It's going to open the door for the 16 of Andy Fuller there on the inside, but with only 2 laps to go, all of these drivers are in absolute frenzy mode, hoping that there's contact in front of them. But there's Brad Carpenter taking the white flag. 1 more lap to go, and he will be into the A main. There he goes, coming down the back stretch into turn number 3. Fantastic run for Brad. I mean, flag to flag as he comes out of turn number 4, and he'll transfer into the A main as Chris Meringue will do the same, as does the number 911 of Adam Holm. But maybe a little bit of a contact there after the start-finish line. That's the number 2 machine, Gary LaViolette, getting a very much crinkled front end. Let's see if we can catch that one on the 3-wide TV replay. Pilster, take us through this one.
Oh, looks like, yeah, right here, this was a car battle for 4th place, and the 2 car got loose right there, just spun around. Looks like he was loose on corner exit right there, and not a whole lot he was able to do about that. Unfortunate, and when you're battling 3 cars like that for 4th place, when the transfer spot, like only the top 3 were locked in that race, they're going to be battling hard, and unfortunately, with when your race time's running down, when you're battling hard for 4th, that does allow the top 3 to get away.
That definitely does for the top 3. They will move on into the A main, but we have another B main upcoming that will set the outside row near the back of the field of those the drivers who do transfer. Let's see if in between the 2 B mains, let's see if we might be able to get some of these drivers to talk to let us know how these cars are driving out here tonight. We definitely saw some very interesting things happen there right at the end with Gary LaViolette getting loose out of turn number 4. So I'll be really curious to know if these drivers are suffering from loose race cars. Remember that this series here, the NorthWest Tour, presented by Joe's Racing Products, is a fixed setup. So all these drivers will have the same setup, and it was very interesting to talk to Seth Frazier and BJ Tidrick last week, the 2 league organizers, to hear about how they're planning of getting cars set up. They want them a little bit loose, so it sets things up. So let's see if we can talk to Adam Holm in the number 911 machine. Hey, Adam, this is Peter Short here on the 3-wide TV booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got a copy.
Well, man, you're able to make up a few positions there, use that high line, and man, I thought you might have had a shot at getting second place there right at the end, but I think you probably used your head there, realized that there was more to be lost than gained. But tell us how that number 911 was driving out there.
Yeah, the number 911 was definitely on a roll tonight. There towards when I heard halfway, I knew it was time to go. that outside is, yeah, that's where some people are going to find the passing. Did notice, for me, that's where I was going to do the most gain. And actually, the car was just feeling perfect, so I'm ready for the 200.
Yeah, it will be 200 lap tonight, and you went from a 60 lap sprint, and you're going to be in a 200 lap endurance race. How does your mindset change in those races?
Well, I mean, it's no different for me. It's going to be no different than what I just did there. I'll protect my car and keep it up front, and when it's time to go, it's time to go.
All right. Well, best of luck the A main once we do get there, Adam.
All right, thank you guys.
All right. Well, that was your third place finisher here in the first B main, as we're waiting for the second B main to get set up. But that will definitely be a good second B main, another 60 laps to determine the other drivers. And I think we do have BJ Tidrick with us now. And BJ, that was a pretty darn good B main that we just saw there, but we got another one coming up, don't we?
Yeah, actually, that I just swung in here to let you guys know that we are having a little bit of an issue with our second server there. It's not letting a couple of our drivers in, so we're going to have to redo that server, relaunch it, and let those guys have a chance to get back in. We want everybody to come out and race as well as they can, and we don't want to cut anybody's night short, so it's just going to take us a couple extra minutes to reset that up and move forward.
All right. Well, nonetheless, even though we do have a little bit of issues here, I'm sure that would allow us to interview a couple more people. So, BJ, good luck tonight.
Thank you very much. And boy, I know what, if you guys are watching that B main, there was some great side-by-side racing in there, and I think as the night progresses, especially in the 200 lap finale, without taking tires or fuel, no pitting, towards the end of that race, it's going to be quite the handful. I think you see some really good two-eyed racing, especially that outside group.
Absolutely. We definitely saw that one in there in the first B main, and we're looking forward to that second B main coming up. But like I said, best of luck. Hopefully you can come away with a good finish tonight.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping for, guys.
All right. Let's see if we can, while the second session gets set up, doesn't sound like we can find some of the other two drivers from the top two finishers, unfortunately, from the first B main here in the race room. But Pilster, what were you seeing out there on the racetrack before that race was over? Did you see the track changing at all?
Well, it's definitely hard to say. When you're referring to like getting rubber on the track, that definitely does change how the drivers are going to be handling that racing surface.
Yeah, definitely look like that outside line might have come in just a little bit. Let's see if we can get the 00 of Chris Meringue in here. And Chris, this is Peter Short in the 3Y TV booth. You got a copy? Well, doesn't seem like. Let's see if we can dial up one more time. Hey, there you go. Chris Meringue, Peter Short, 3Y TV here. You got a copy, bud?
10-4. How you guys doing?
All right. Oh, man, I'm doing good. How about yourself? You just finished runner-up in that B main. How was that 00 driving?
Slow. No, it was a little tight. You kind of have to get it on the bottom, so I was just trying to hang on. Adam seemed a little faster than me, and he did not run over me, thankfully. So I guess I get to go to the A main.
Yeah, definitely South Boston tends to be one of those more line-specific ovals. I know a lot of iRacers have run many, many laps around Sobo in usually the rookie cars. How difficult is it with the super late model? A lot of horsepower, a lot of downforce, that sort of thing.
I don't know. It seems like any car, the street stocks, any of them, if you don't hit that line at Sobo, it's harder than hell to turn.
Yeah, without a doubt. Hopefully you can find that. You have 200 laps to find that line around this place here tonight. So hopefully you can find it and hit it lap after lap and work your way through the pack. We'll be watching out for you here tonight. Good luck.
Hey, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Well, that was your second place finisher in the first B main. Let's see if we can get a word and see if maybe the second B main is upcoming here. I'll see if they can get that room set up. But definitely interesting to kind of hear how important it is to hit the lines here around Sobo. I know personally I have driven a lot of laps around this racetrack. In fact, I think it was the first iRacing track I ever drove back when they had the rookie legends. And I'll tell you what, but Chris Meringue said hitting the line perfectly around this place is so important. Really, there's a lot of grip right down there, usually right on that yellow line, but if you go just a little bit above it or a little bit below it, it tends to either push or get really sideways when you hit the throttle. I know that from experience. I've done my best here in a super late model race to try and get the win, and burned up my tires doing so. Did that last year in the 3-wide racing league all-star race here when we ran super late models around this 0.4 of a mile racetrack. Definitely a very interesting racetrack for the drivers. Fairly difficult to pass due to its size, but after the long race, like what BJ Tidricks said, unable to change tires throughout the race, and 200 laps on a single pair of Goodyear Racing Eagles will be very towards the end of this one if there aren't that many cautions and if we get a lot of green flag laps. Well, while we get the second B main to get set up, Peel Sir, why don't you give us a rundown of the point standings after the first week of the season?
All right. One thing I think actually we gotta hold off on that. We're having a little bit of technical. We're going to be going to commercial, and we'll be back with those point standings after the break.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to South Boston, Virginia for the second of two B mains to work their way into the 200 lap A main here in the NorthWest Tour presented by Joe's Racing Products. I'm Peter Short, and I'm joined in the booth by Peelster. And Peelster, we already saw a fantastic first B main, but once again, the track has reset. The track temperatures have reset. The time of day has reset. And already looks like we have some issues out there. The 112 machine there, Joshua Beal, having some issues. But with the track now being a little bit hotter versus the end of the last B main, what does a hotter racetrack do for the drivers?
Well, that's definitely going to affect grip. So if you had a cooler track in practice, you're definitely going to need to take a slightly different line when you're going around that track because track temperature can definitely affect how your tires are and your car is handling. You might even, these drivers though, they don't really have an opportunity to make much of a setup adjustment for the track temperatures, do they, Peter?
That they do not. They have a couple laps here in practice getting ready for the second B main. You can think of these as hot laps, so to speak. But it won't be long before we move over to the starting grid. There's a machine that is driven by Daniel Masters, and he has the number 38 machine of Alex Ludeman right below him. Ludeman, a kind of late addition to the Northwest Tour presented by Joe's Racing Products, but we have now advanced the session over. And remember, 3 of these drivers will transfer over into the A main, and that being the top 3. Now, we do have 2 provisional drivers. Those 2 provisional drivers will be based off of last year's points. I do know that Matt Hackathorn there in the number 84 machine was actually in the top 10 in last year's points, so he might be able to use a provisional if he's not able to get this inside the top 3 after this one. But he's going to be starting from the front, and that's going to be all important to do, as we already saw Brad Carpenter lead every single lap in the last race, the last B main, all 60 laps. But we'll have another 60 laps here. As you can see, the engines have already been fired and these cars already rolling. And Peelster, do you think we're going to see any different strategies in this race, or do you think these drivers are just going to kind of go for it like they did in the last one?
Yeah, I think they're going to go for it like in the last one. With these all-fire races, you don't have a lot of time to get up front. It is very much get up and go. And the thing about South Boston is it's as a short track, there's not a lot of room to get around drivers. Very similar speeds. You want to make sure that you're getting your speed. Setting up your corner exit is crucial here. Now, as someone who's driven South Boston quite a bit, what can you tell the viewers about the groove of this track? Is this a single groove, multi-groove track? How does passing around here work?
Well, on fresh tires, every single driver will be down there on the bottom. But one thing about the bottom is that yellow line is really your friend. There's a lot of grip right down there on that yellow line. You can kind of hook the car down there, but as the run goes on, you can definitely get to the outside of someone. And if you can pinch them down enough and kind of thwart them on exit, you can actually use that high line to make a pass. But really, you have to have a couple of good corners in a row to make that move. But here is the number 84 machine. That is Matt Hackathorn. He is already off and underway here as the green flag flies once again at South Boston, but the number 11 machine right behind him. Kyle Franklin's going to slot into that second position with the number 92 right behind him. The number 92 driven by Casey Tillman. So currently your top 3, Hackathorn, Franklin, and Tillman. Remember, Tillman is on the bubble spot. That is the 3rd position. That is the last transfer position here out of this A main. That's really where we're going to have to focus our eyes, is that number 77 machine of Josh Childress right behind him. Looks like that 77 machine has been already a little bit racy, kind of showing his nose to the inside of that number 92 once or twice down the straightaways, possibly trying to get into the head of that number 92 machine. We have heard from the drivers that these cars tend to be a little bit tight, and these race drivers can make a bad move, hit that wall. Ooh, I think maybe that 77 machine might have clipped the wall there. If he didn't, he got very, very close. And they're coming out of turn number 2. But now already a lap gone since they hit that lap. These laps going down very, very quickly. Lap times around this joint in the 11.5 second range, 11.5 to 12 seconds. So these laps really do fly by. Actually getting word that it's a 14 to 15 second bracket. Unfortunately, my live timing and scoring is not quite accurate here tonight, as you can tell. A couple seconds off, but nonetheless, that number 11 machine looks like he might be holding up the number 92 right now. Tillman having a really good run on the back of that number 11 machine, but Hackathorn with all that clean air on the front end of that number 84, using as much downforce as possible to work his way around this racetrack. Possibly might we see another flag to flag, Pilster? What are your thoughts?
Oh man, it's going to be tough to tell, that's for sure. Short track like this, we did have a couple cautions in that first race. I would expect at least one here. You have a lot on the line for making it into the race, and it's going to be tough to end. Drivers are definitely going to get impatient as it rolls down towards the end here.
Yeah, and you can see that number 11 machine is really doing a good job of running down Hackathorn, and Kyle Franklin there using a little bit higher groove through the corner, so he's kind of throwing you have to be right down there on that yellow line out of the window, and definitely running a little bit higher up in turn number 1 and 2. At least he was last lap, as now Casey Tillman's going to use that higher groove, and they've run at Hackathorn as we have now 50 laps to go, already 10 laps in to this race. Yeah, man, Kyle Franklin, great run coming out of these corners. He's really backing up his corners. You can see how Hackathorn's able to pull away on entry into the corner, but that number 11 machine gets on the throttle just a little bit sooner, and he was able to run down Hackathorn, but Hackathorn's been able to gap him about half a car length once again. Definitely good battles throughout this field. We've been clean and green now for the first 12 laps of this one. We've made it longer than we did in the first B main. Oh man, look at the number 92, Casey Tillman, down there below the yellow line. 39 machine back there. That's Jason Templeton, possibly getting a little bit sideways coming out of the corner. Currently running in the 5th position right behind the number 77. So definitely things... They've been single file. They've been pretty quiet so far, but I'll tell you what, Pilster, the action is definitely kind of simmering. You can kind of feel it as the number 11 is going to dive to the inside of Hackathorn. And just saying it was simmering, well, it's boiled up now as they're side-by-side for the race lead. Hackathorn on the high side, Franklin on the inside. You see Hackathorn, he's using that high line as much as he can. Now, we'll have to see how strong that high line can be, because the last thing Hackathorn wants is to be freight trained around the outside line. And looks like Franklin's going to lead that lap. But if Hackathorn's unable to get back into that lower group, he has a shot of missing. Oh, the 11 machine got loose. And that might allow Hackathorn to stay as the race leader. That was definitely crazy there for a split second. And once again, Hackathorn resumes as the race leader. And now look at Casey Tillman in the number 92. He's side by side. Oh, in the wall. The number 92, you saw him get a little bit of air in that right front. And all of a sudden, things up at the front going a little bit crazy. I'll tell you what. I said it a couple laps ago. Things were simmering. And this looks like exactly what the number 77 machine of Josh Childress needs, as he's trying to get himself into the top 3. This is the battle for the transfer spot. The number 92 of Tillman in the wall once again. Childress on the inside. They're still side by side coming out of turn number 2. And contact again with the outside wall. The number 92 hit the wall really hard, and contact between the 39.
That's going to throw out a caution for the first time in this race. Definitely rough racing. It was bound to happen sooner or later. See what we get on this instant replay here.
Yeah, you can take us through this one.
Yeah, so it looks like right here the 77 was battling hard with the 92. 39 got up to his inside, and that's going to spin him around. That is a tough break for Josh Childress there.
Yeah, definitely a tough break, but that's not what he wanted to have happen. But we'd seen contact between the number 92 and the 77 a couple times, and the 77, after that contact with the number 92, he kind of got pushed down into that inside groove and shallowed out his entry into turn number 3 and 4. And unfortunately, when that happens, you really have to back up your corner. That's what he was doing, but unfortunately, right behind him, unable to slow up and making a contact with the back end of that 77 of Josh Childress, and that is why that 77 went around. So we'll have to see how everything gets sorted out after that accident, who's going to take the credit for it, because whoever does take credit for it will receive an end of longest line penalty. That is not what you want to have happen, because with only just over halfway to go, you'll end up in the back of the pack. as the pace car lights are on. That number 84 of Hackathorn still leading the way. Here you see the Hermiston Raceway up in the top left-hand corner of your screen. Want to give them a shout-out here for sponsoring the Northwest Tour presented by Joe's Racing Products. And if you haven't looked at Joe's Racing Products and you're located in the great states of the United States of America, go check them out. They're definitely a leader up in the Northwest for all types of racing products for the super late model racer and other racers alike. As the 84 of Hackathorn, you see him weaving his tires. He's going to get the green flag here, and he's nope. They added a caution lap. Sorry, there was one to go there briefly, but they added another caution lap for things to get settled out there in the back. But now pace car lights are off once again. So for Matt Hackathorn, your race leader, right behind him, the number 11 machine of Kyle Franklin, and then Casey Tillman in the number 92, even though made the contact with Josh Childress that sent Childress into the inside line, did not bring out the caution. That number 92 still sits in the third position as finally the pace car has pulled off and the green flag back in the air here at Sobo. Race led by Matt Hackathorn. Hackathorn dives it off into turn number 1 and 2, using a little bit of higher groove, see if he can get a good run coming out of turn number 2, scraping the wall down the back, a couple of sparks. And in fact, wow, Hackathorn using that high groove here, and Pilster, we've seen that a couple of times, but now running that second groove all around the racetrack, do you think that's going to help that number 84 machine?
Well, it looks like it's working out for him right now, putting a bit of a gap on the 11 car of Kyle Franklin there. But Franklin is going to try to stay with him. Here we are riding on board. Yep, still running, looks like 15-second lap times just about. And we're riding on board right now with the 84 of Mac Hackathorn with that rear view. Looks like the 11 car is going to be trying to look on his inside coming into the corner. And third place car is looking on for the second place car.
Yeah, that's Casey Franklin there in third position, looking on Kyle Franklin. Interesting to see these two grooves up at the front, working between them. Kyle Franklin steadfast to that top line, as is the 84 machine of Matt Hackathorn, as they head now through turn number 3 and 4. You can tell as they go around this racetrack, really hard to tell what end of the racetrack they're on. Turns 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 look alike, but I'll tell you what, they do race a little bit differently. This track, even though it looks on paper as a perfect oval, it just races differently in turn 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and part of that is the micro bumps that are around this racetrack. I'm not going to call them big bumps. You can see there's some big bumps there going down the straightaway, but here the bumps tend to not be that big of a deal, but they definitely just enough to change the characteristic of the car driving around the corner. And that kind of goes back to what line are you going to run around this place. With Hackathorn running just a little bit higher on the racetrack, you might be thinking that's the best defensive position for his car, because it's just really hard to make a move underneath someone if you can kind of prevent them from hitting the throttle when they want to kind of wash up towards the wall. But for now, Hackathorn leads. The number 11 of Franklin right behind him, Casey Tillman running in third. You see that number 92 going down there below the apron, possibly with the left side tires. And that's something you can do here, Peelster. Just using that apron just a little bit, as that number 92 has a good run on the number 11. Man, they have to watch out for contact there coming out of the corner. But the number 92 running right down there on the yellow line this time. Definitely some close action here. Remember, Casey Tillman is currently in a transfer spot. He has nothing to gain, really, by passing the number 11 machine. Yes, it's 2 positions at the start of the race, but first and foremost, you want to start this race as we look a little bit further back. There's Josh Childress. Yes, the 77 of Josh Childress. He's got that damage on that car, of course, was involved in that first accident. And the number 39 machine, remember, I believe the 39 of Jason Templeton was actually the one who took credit for that caution. That's why those 2 cars are that far back. But for now, Childress trying to work his way back through the field, but unable to get into the top 3 as of yet. Well, battle for the race lead. The number 11 machine's got underneath Matt Hackathorn, and sure enough, Hackathorn has now slid back into the second position, now under fire from the number 92 of Casey Tillman. And my oh my, this battle is going to rage on. It'd be interesting to see if we can get a replay at some point of how that battle for the race lead happened. But now for Hackathorn, he's now slid back into the third position, and he will be your cut driver. We'll see, this is the replay of this pass, and that number 11 machine a little bit lower coming out of turn number 4. Got a fantastic launch coming out of turn number 4. Just dove it off into turn number 1 and 2. You can see how he rotated the middle. Hackathorn resorted to that very high groove, and he made that move work. So definitely Peelster, that number 11 machine finding some speed down there in the bottom. Hackathorn's going to have to find that speed down there if he doesn't want to get under fire from this number 20.
Yeah, absolutely. You definitely have to down in there to make passes, and some tough luck for the 84 car Mac Hathorn. That's going to drop him back down to third place because the 92 of Casey Tillman was able to follow him up and take that second spot away. Right now we are running on board with the fourth place car. That's going to be the 20 of Brian Lambert, and he's definitely wanting to get into that third place position because, as mentioned before, top 3 are locked in.
Top 3 drivers make their way into the A main. That third position currently held by Matt Hackathorn. It's been the first lead change we've seen all night. 2 B mains. First B main, if you're just now joining us, was won by Brad Carpenter. He led flag to flag all 60 laps in the first B main, and he put himself into the A main. But for now, it is the 11 machine, Kyle Franklin, leading the way around this 4/10 of a mile racetrack. As the 77 there of Josh Childress hitting the wall just a little bit. We've seen that quite a bit tonight. Ooh, maybe hit it a little bit harder that time. But he is under fire from the number 39 machine, Jason Templeton, right behind him, working their return number 3 and 4. And we'll see if that number 39 can pull a similar move to what we saw out of Kyle Franklin. Although that 77 of Childress unwilling to give out that low line. You can definitely see he's hugging that line quite snugly, unlike what Matt Hackathorn was doing just a little bit ago. Hackathorn has about 0.6 of a second between him and the fourth place car there of Lambert. Lambert in that number 20 Triad Toyota. It's a Toyota on it. It's really just a super light model underneath, but they can run a Toyota engine, I do believe, if they're in the top echelon of super lights, which they are. Number 20 running right down there on the bottom, trying to work his way into the top 3. But look at this battle. This battle for the race lead might not be done, Peelster. That number 92, he's caught the back end of Kyle Franklin, and Tillman is really hunting for that race lead here.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's the thing. With 10 to go, even if you are in the top 3, that's just not good enough. You want to go for that win if you can. Wins are everything. That's what you race for. And right now we are in a rear bumper camera on board with Franklin. And 92 car is right up his bumper, trying to get around him through the inside line, it looks like. As we've gone on in this race, looks like lap times have slowed down a bit by about almost 0.3 of a second, it looks like. Running about 15.4 now. And we still have that replace car coming up from behind as well, so it's anybody's race still, especially in this top 3.
Yeah, and you kind of said it. As a race car driver, you want to get the checkered flag. And unfortunately for the number 92, Casey Tillman, he's kind of fallen off the back bumper of Kyle Franklin here. There's been about 2 or 3 car lengths now put between them as Hackathorn's closed back on that number 92 machine. We'll see if Hackathorn can make a charge for that second position, as we now only have 5 laps to go. But as race car drivers, you want to go for that win. I know personally, as a sim racer myself, man, if I'm not trying to pass a car, I'm not having any fun out there on the racetrack. It's all about passing the cars and playing kind of the mind games that it takes to make the move. I mean, we saw a good move out of Kyle Franklin to get around Matt Hackathorn and assume the race lead. Just kind of played the mind games a little bit, backed up his corner a little bit, got a good run out of turn number 4, made the move off into turn number 1 and turn number 2, and that is how Kyle Franklin has asserted himself race lead. There is the battle for 4th, which has actually gone to the number 3 machine, driven by Daniel Masters, and Masters has been able to get around the number 20 machine of Lambert. So that's actually about 2 seconds behind Matt Hackathorn, as we only have 2 laps to go. So Hackathorn in third is looking pretty safe right now, unless we see anything like what we saw to Gary LaViolette right at the end of the last race, where he
Lambert
spun
battling
out.
back the inside, though, trying to make that work.
Yeah, definitely, but it's just a little bit too little too late, because this number 11 machine, Kyle Franklin, Casey Tillman, and Matt Hackathorn, will cement themselves as the 3 drivers who transfer over into tonight's 200-lap A-Main feature race here in the Northwest Tour, presented by Joe's Racing Product. Definitely some good racing there between the number 3 of Daniel Masters and the number 20 machine of Brian Lambert, all the way to the checkered flag. But those 2 drivers will be going home unless they're able to get a provisional into the A-Main. Once again, the provisional is based off of last year's point. The top drivers from last year's point standings who are not in the A-Main, either through qualifying or through the B-Main, will be added to the A-Main as the 2 provisional drivers. But definitely a very interesting race, Pilster. A lot cleaner than the first one that we had.
Yeah, we only had 1 caution this time around, lots of green flag running, and I definitely think that's going to be something to look for in the A-Main coming up here, because drivers are not allowed to pit. So if you do have caution laps in, that will save your tires, which means you can put a little more into the corner towards the end of the race. That's going to be something huge in the final, is making sure you're being careful on your tire management so you have enough for the end.
Yeah, we saw a lot of drivers use that higher groove here in this second B-Main that we did in the first B-Main, and I thought that might be the product of the fact that there was only 1 caution flag. There was a lot more green flag running in this one, so they used their tires a little bit more, and I think that's why we saw so much high line running in this one. So it's going to be interesting to see if that progresses into the A-Main. Of course, you mentioned it, Pielser. Running that higher groove allows you to save tire, and with 200 laps on the same 4 tires, you're going to want to save tires early in these races. You absolutely will. So it'll be interesting to see if we see a lot of high line running even early in the next race to just try and save their tires for the last one. Let's see if we can dial up some of your top 3 finishers here from the second B-Main. And we got him while he was in the middle of something. I believe that is the number 84 of Matty Hackathorn. Mr. Hackathorn, you got a copy?
How's it going, Ward Burton?
Well, that is my moniker off, when I'm not commentating. But nonetheless, Matt, you were able to start this race from the pole, but unfortunately you were able to, at least you were able to get into the A-Main, but you did slide back a couple positions, finishing in the 3rd position. Tell us a little bit about how that 84 was driving, why you decided to use that line, and whether or not what you learned from this B-Main will help you in the A-Main.
They were just trying to race, and I kind of was keeping an eye on the corner of my mirror to see the gap back to 4th. Because I was like, if you guys want to race, I'd rather not get wrecked. Because, as you know, I have terrible luck with getting in every single accident, usually. So I just kind of went up there. Problem with the bottom is after about 10 laps, you cannot get the drive off. You just spin the tires. You're not able to get full throttle, so you're straight. So if you kind of did like a high arc up in the high groove, you kind of went down there, you're able to get a nice drive off. So I just moved up there, watched the other B-Main, kind of learned what I had to do, when I was going to have to do it. I just kind of paced and let those other guys race, and I saw the 4th place was slowly falling back, and I was like, I'd rather not get wrecked and guarantee myself in. I got 200 laps to get back to the front. Crap, man, it's going to be great. Learned a lot. It's going to be tough to get through the field because, of course, the A-Main's all the really great guys up here in the Northwest, so it's going to be a really good show. I'm excited that I actually made it.
Yeah, definitely is an interesting. It's gonna be an interesting race here. 200 laps around South Boston is definitely not an easy one. But Matt, is South Boston one of your favorite racetracks, or are you not just a big fan of it?
I enjoy it to a point. With this league, we like to try to make the cars harder to drive to promote passing. So it does get a little bit. This is far more exhausting than driving, say, our Cup cars here when we had the All-Star races. But honestly, it makes for really good racing when we all get figured out and we can all race pretty close to each other. I hope it'll be a really good show. I feel like I can work my way up through the field. It's just going to be a matter of finding the right line and win, and we won't be. I don't believe we'll be having single fire starts on the main. So even if I do get up front, I don't get my nice fancy restarts I like to pull. So hopefully it'll be a good show for everybody, and I hope I'll have a ton of fun in it.
All right, we'll definitely be fun to see that number 84 racing through the pack, and best of luck here tonight, Matt.
Thanks, Petey.
All right. That is your third place finisher, and I believe that Peelster has caught up with driver of the number 92 machine.
Yeah, we're here with Axie Tillman, the 92 machine. So, what do you think about that race right there, and going into the final, like learning from the drivers around you? How's that going to affect your final? Hello, Casey, you there? Looks like we don't have him quite yet here. We'll try to catch up with him a bit later if possible.
Yeah, that is a pretty common thing. We've seen that. We saw that a couple times last week here between the B main and the A main. But let's see if we can dial up the number 11 machine. And Pilster, have you caught up with Kyle?
Yeah, hey, Kyle, you got a copy on us?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, great to have you here. So, going in from that qualifier, what did you learn about how the track's driving, and what can you use to put that towards your final?
Well, the track was a different line every lap that you take. I've been noticing that high line comes into play real late, and try to take advantage of coming out of the corner a little lower, here and there. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And with traffic as well, going to the final, you will have a bit more time. So what sort of different things would you be doing in a bit of a longer race than the sprint like you were just in?
Patience is a key to hopefully stay out of any wrecks that happen, and maybe we'll get a single file race so you can pick them off one by one. And I mean, that's about it. And it's gonna be a tough one to pass here.
All right. Well, good luck, Kyle.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Well, that does it for the commercials here after the second of two B mates. And, well, at least that's it for the interviews. But nonetheless, we're going to break for commercial here for just a brief moment. We'll be right back here on 3Y TV. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Sobo and up in the Virginias here, and definitely it's going to be interesting to see now how these drivers transition over from the two B mains that we have into a 200 lap A main. And there's some very interesting things here that we're going to talk about here before we actually take the green flag there. But one of those is actually going to be the point standings, and of course we're only 1 point in to the point season, or one race into the point season, but nonetheless, Pilser, take us through the current point standings.
Yeah, so after one race, we do have Alar leading the standings with 115 points. Chance Crum in second, 6 points back. Hayden Anderson with 13 points back from first. Bart Hector Jr. in fourth. We have Seth Frazier fifth. Kyle Franklin sixth. Travis Barnes seventh. James Paulson eighth. BJ Tidrick ninth. And rounding out your top 10 is Casey Tillman, 33 points back.
Yeah, of course, it is interesting to note that here in the NorthWest Tour, they use passing points to get bonus points. So really, the finishing order doesn't always reflect how many, or I should say, who got the most points out of a single race. But for last week, Kyle Lara really did a fantastic race. He actually got the pole. There is an inversion. So the top 16 qualifiers actually get inverted. And then you get your 6 cars that come in from the B main, and then you get your 2 provisionals. So that's how this starting order is set up. But Kyle Lars was the fastest qualifier last week, started in 16th, and then worked his way up to win last week's race. So we got maximum passing points, as well as winning the race, getting maximum points from getting first place. And so really, Kyle Lohr had as good of a race as you could have had last week. As you can see, the starting order down there rolling at the bottom of the screen, already back to row 8, 9, 10. Those are pretty much your drivers who transferred in from the B mains. Daniel Masters there, last one on row number 11. And there is the number 19 machine out there on the racetrack right now. And it will be starting this race from the first position. That's Marshall Peterson, and the 6th machine to his outside, Cameron Doyle. So we'll have to keep an eye on those. The number 7 machine there having to throw on the brakes. Dylan Huffines there. The 8 machine to the inside of him, Travis Barnes. So really, we're going to keep an eye on these 4 cars. And you know, it's kind of an interesting game that you play, Fielster, because do you want to qualify first? Do you really want to be the fastest qualifier? You're going to start the race in 16th. You just have to work your way up through the field. And we've already seen it's fairly difficult to pass here around this racetrack, but there is 200 laps to get the job done. We'll have to see how it all plays out now as these cars are coming around to take the green flag for 200 laps around South Boston, and the number 19 machine, Marshall Peterson, will take the green flag already on the loud pedal and off into turn number 1. They're side by side for the second position. You see that yellow stripe. He is a rookie to this league, so how long will Peterson be able to hold on to the race lead? Only time will tell, but this side-by-side battle is right behind them. That's Travis McKinney trying to take the second position away from the 6 of Cameron Doyle, and not quite able to do so just yet. You can see he just wasn't able to get the run through turn number 1 and 2 that he was hoping for. Looks like he's going to get the job done here coming out of turn number 4. Now looking a little bit further back, some action a little bit further back is the 74 right behind the number 72. 72 driven by BJ Tidrick and the 74 by Brian Payne. And now the number 37 enters the fray by Caden Anderson. Anderson using that high line to her advantage, and you going right there around the high side. Just trying to make that high line work already here early in this one. We already see B main race that high line sometimes is advantageous to use, especially early in the race to possibly save tires, but it's definitely a fast line later in the run. Here we go, side-by-side battle between the number 98 machine, that number 98 driven by Sean Jackson, and that is a Fazoli's car. I don't know if you know what Fazoli's is, but we have Fazoli's even down here in Texas. They're great place to go get some pasta. As that number 98 going to use that high line to his advantage and get that position. So very interesting to see here. Already a couple of drivers. Oh, here is the 0 machine. This is Chris Meringue, one of your transfer drivers down there on the inside, possibly losing a couple of positions here. Not 100% sure. That 00 just not able to get hooked up here in the early going.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to be switching over to take a look at the 37, attempting to get around the 72 car. That's going to be Caden Anderson and BJ Tidrick, respectively, right here on board with Tidrick. And this is going to be for, looks like 7th place right now.
You see that number 37 using the bottom line now, making moves. That number 37 starting to make some noise here around this racetrack. A little bit further forward here, the 44 machine. That's Ryan Gormley going to the inside of the number 6, Cameron Doyle. So Gormley here right down there, running that inside line, running that yellow line where I said there was a lot of grip down there earlier, and able to make that move. The number 6 spot of Doyle, 6 man, trying to make a move down there. Oh, here's the number 7 machine, and the number 7 machine, driven by Dylan Huffines, hasn't had a good start to this race. Huffines is sliding his way back through the field now, under fire from the number 98 of Jackson, and that number 7 just not able to find excuse me, that's the number 98 of Kingsbury. My sheet here isn't quite updated. Nonetheless, that number 98 of Kingsbury moving up through the field. Ooh, look at this battle. The number 9. No, the 74 hard in the outside wall. And
Big
there's
wreck.
cars everywhere. Oh my gosh, and this is a lot of the drivers who transferred in. There's the 84 of Hackathorn, the number 22 machine. That's Kyle Lahr, last week's race winner, involved in this one. That was a huge accident. Happened up near the front. It happened there with the 74. Not quite sure if the 74 checked up. Definitely didn't get a good run out of turn number 4. That's Brian Payne. You see the 74 come down the racetrack and nowhere for Matt Hackathorn to go. And you see some cars just coming to a complete stop out there on the racetrack. Let's go on board with this number 74 machine, because just didn't get a good run out of turn number 4. You can see that the other cars kind of drove away and then got hooked in the right rear corner up into the wall. The number 11 there, driven by Kyle Franklin, getting a good chunk of the damage. But that number 74 machine, man, Pilster, I would think that number 74 is toast.
Yeah, absolutely, especially after getting into the wall like that right there. You see it again, hit by 3 cars. So that is going to be a lot of damage. That just might end their race right there, unfortunately.
Yeah, and Seth Frazier in the number 32 machine also got a good chunk of damage, as well as that number 74 machine is now sitting on pit road. One of the rules in this series, of course, we've mentioned it to a couple times here already, but you cannot change tires, but you can come down pit road to help get damage repaired. They're not allowed to take fuel unless needed during a race, but you're not, you can't take new tires. So he's just down there on pit road getting as much damage repaired as possible to see if he can get that number 74 machine back in tonight's race. And let's see if we can dial up the number 74 of Brian Payne here. Brian Payne, this is Peter Short up here in the 3-wide TV booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I gotcha.
How much damage you got on that thing? It looked like a pretty hard hit.
Yeah, I've got quite a bit. I'm going to be in the pits for a good while, probably a good 15, 20 laps if I'm lucky to get back out.
All right, hopefully you can get back out, but nonetheless the race is going back green, so we'll let your crew get to work on that machine. But the number 19 machine is doing work out there on the racetrack. That is Anderson, and he's got the number 48 machine to his outside. The number 48 driven by Travis McKinney, and McKinney, possible contact. Yeah, definitely contact between those two cars coming out of turn number 4, but I think McKinney is going to take the race lead here coming out of turn number 2. He is new race leader here at South Boston. Man, Pilster, we're already starting to see that high line coming into play here early on.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you saw it earlier, but on that, right before that contact, there was a little bit of net code coming from the 48 car of Travis McKinney, a little bit of blinking there, so that might have contributed to the contact on that pass as well. But you do have a new race leader, Travis McKinney. Here we are on board with the 37 of Caden Anderson, trying to get around, looks like the 10 car, is that right?
That is 19. The 19. Yeah, the 19 machine driven by Marshall Peterson. So Peterson dropping back quite a bit here in this run. High line all of a sudden looking like the place where you want to be. Anderson, we've already seen that number 37 make a few passes in this one, moving forward, moving on up in that number 37, doing a great job of finding spots to make the move. You can see the 37, you can see that number 19 right in the mirror of that machine, and it does look like the 37 machine has cleared. Ooh, problems for your race leader. Looks like your race leader might have gotten loose on into turn number 1. That's the number 48 machine, driven by Travis McKinney. Oh, no, that's the connection issue. I saw a puff of smoke and couldn't quite tell if that, well, what that was, but it was definitely just a connection issue. You sometimes see that, but definitely kind of awkward to see your race leader blinking. I'm sure this man right here, Travis Barnes, isn't going to want to see that number 48 blinking for too long. I'm sure he's getting on the radio right now saying, hey, this is not good. I can't tell where that car is on the outside. You know,
Travis Barnes looking to the inside for the lead here. Trying to get around that. We want to as quickly as possible. Lots of concerns, not always entirely sure where that 48 car is, as you saw with that onboard view. Here they are side by side still. 48 is going to get the better run on the outside there, keeping the lead for now.
Yeah, Peelster, I mean, you kind of said it, but how frustrating is that as a race car driver when you have the car around you that's blinking like that?
It's extremely frustrating because you want to doing the same line you've been running, but you never know what sort of actions that car in front of you is taking and where you need to be. You want to slow it down a little bit, but at the same time, you can't sacrifice that speed because you have that third place car right there breathing down your neck.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to make moves, but you just don't know when you're going to be able to make it, like you said. Here's the number 98 of Kingsbury. We've seen some good moves out of that Fazoli's machine so far in this race. BJ Tidrick there in the number 72 machine. This is currently a race back, trying to figure out what position that was, but now we got the number 4 and the number 7. They're racing side by side. The number 4 is Shane Quinn. Shane Quinn started this race from the 16th position, I do believe, was the fastest qualifier out of all the qualifiers we had. And you can already see damage on that number 4 machine from that first big accident that we had. So this number 4 machine is going to look to see if he can work his way up through the field. Last week's race winner, Kyle Lahr, currently mired down in the 16th position. Not the race he's wanting so far, but we still have plenty of laps to go, 169 laps to go to be exact. As we now look a little bit back, there is Kyle Lahr in that number 22 machine, but back up towards the front. Here's the number 44 machine. That's Ryan Gormley, and the number 6. We've seen these two go at it quite a bit. This is now a battle for the 5th position. And two different lines here. Peelster, we've seen this a lot so far in this race, but you can see how these two different lines are working as we have a battle for the race lead up at the front. And looks like Caden Anderson in the number 37 machine wants to roll the 48, the outside one, the 48 coming back down the racetrack and into the pit wall. No caution. We'll have to see if we can go back and see this on the replay, Peelster. What happened here? What happened to the 48?
Well, let's take a look and find out here. Looks like he's on the outside lane, trying to get around for the lead. Slides up around and slides in. There is going to be a caution for that, or maybe another incident possibly. It looked like he was safe down on the pit road after sliding out, so maybe it was something else that caused that caution?
We'll have to see what happened. We're trying to see if we can see what happened on the 3-wide replay. The number 11 machine there, Kyle Franklin going up and over. Matt Hackathorn with a good chunk of damage there, and also Kyle Lahr in the 22. My oh my, let's see if we can see this one again. Here we go on board with the gyro cam. I think that is the 22 of Lahr right behind him. He checks up right there to not run into the back of the 82 machine and get wall, does a barrel roll, ends up on his wheels, and that number 11 I think is still out there on the racetrack. No, I think he's coming down pit road with some pretty significant damage. But you can see that the number 82 machine right in front of him, that's Bart Hector, and Hector just checked up a little bit, and that led to that collision. That's just something, as a race car driver, it's definitely something that you just don't want to see right in front of you. It's kind of an accordion effect.
Yeah, absolutely. Pretty scary stuff, too, and you have a flip like that, and that's going to cause a lot of suspension damage, I would imagine. You see the dents in that 11 car hit down on pit road, so I imagine they're going to have some significant repair time after that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if we can possibly get a word with the 11 machine. But Caden Anderson in the number 37 machine has gotten to the race lead, and the number 8 machine, Travis Barnes, currently sits in second. After the number 48 machine, Travis McKinney, had his issues. But I've been getting word that I believe we have up with the number 11 machine, Kyle Franklin. Peter Shorten is in the 3-wide TV booth. Unfortunately, you did transfer into the A main, but it looks like it's going to be fairly short-lived for you tonight. Talk us through that.
Everybody checked up. I checked up, and you can't do anything when the other guy doesn't check up as much as you do. So, and they just ran you out of the race. Happens.
Yeah, definitely a tough there for the number 11 machine. Definitely some good heads-up awareness for you not to run over the back bumper of the number 82 of Bart Hector Jr. But like you said, getting run over from behind. How much damage you got? Will you be able to get back out there on the racetrack?
Yeah, I'll make a few laps, but it's going to be a while. So.
All right. Well, hopefully you can get out on the racetrack and maybe pick up a few more positions, Kyle. We'll be waiting anxiously for your return, but until then, hopefully you can salvage something from this race.
Hey, thank you.
All right. That was the number 11 mission of Kyle Franklin. We do have the one to green, the number 37 of Kate Anderson going down the backstretch, going into turn number 3 here behind the Mustang pace car. And Pielster, why don't you take us back to the green flag?
All right. Right up here, pace car is going to be pulling off as we come to the green flag. It's going to be that front row, and we have the leader in that 37 car of Caden Anderson right now. Looks like got a good jump off of the 8 car of Travis Barnes. And they're already single file up. We got a lot of 2x2 action going on. Looks like 3 back right there. That battle, that's going to tighten up, allow leaders some breathing room. And it looks like they're going 3 wide coming to corner here.
Yeah, it looks like the number 44 machine, that is driven by Ryan Gormley, had some issues down there on the inside line. Possibly what Matt Hackathorn was talking about earlier, run that low line after about 10 laps. It's really hard to get the power down, get a little bit slick, and I think that's what happened to Gormley there. He had to blow up the race car, got passed by a couple of cars, and 3 wide action on 3 wide TV. I'd say our name is playing true there, but let's keep an eye on this number 98 machine. The number 98 of Kingsbury has been working his way through the field very, very nicely in that Fazoli Chevy, and currently sitting inside the top 5, right behind the number 6. So it looks like we got another Ayrton Senna helmet there on the left-hand side of your screen. So, right behind the number 6 machine of Cameron Doyle here, trying to see if he can get around Doyle coming out of turn number 2, not able to do so yet, but that number 98 definitely working his way forward here. We got this side-by-side battle. We got the number 90 machine there. That number 90 driven by Scott. Man, this is around the 5th position. Going to get around the number 19. Peterson, remember, Peterson started this race on the front row. Was the 16th fastest qualifier and therefore inherited the pole for this A main as the top 16 were inverted, but he's slowly sliding his way through the field. There's the number 82 machine. This is Bart Hector Jr., the number 72 of BJ Tidrick. They're working around the racetrack together, and there's the number 92 Casey Tillman. Remember, the number 90 machine actually transferred from the B main and is now trying to get up to the top into the top 10. So interesting to see some comers and goers already in this race. Interesting to see maybe we have a couple drivers saving their tires, kind of laying back, as the number 94 of Mr. Payne is out there on the racetrack. Brian Payne, that is, in the 74 machine. You remember he was sent off into the turn 1 wall, and he's 27 laps down. I'll tell you what. You know how difficult it is as a race car driver to work around with a slow race car. It's just absolutely agonizing, Pielster. I'm sure you've been in that position, but when you're that far down, you're 27 laps down, what are you looking to gain from this race?
Really, when you're that far back, you hope that some more wrecks happen so you can pick up those spots. You never want to back out of a race early if you can help it, because there's a lot of things that could happen. There could be another big wreck that might take some cars out of it for good, and if you can regain those spots, those are going to be some valuable points going through the season.
Absolutely. It is a fairly lengthy season, and we saw a brief shot of Kyle Lahr, last week's race winner. He's currently down in the 14th position there. He is trying to use that inside line to his advantage, trying to get around Sean Bretzman in that number 46 machine to his outside. Right in front of them, the number 82, Bart Hector Jr. Hector running that high line, as is Britzman, and Kyle Lahr trying to use that inside groove. Britzman is going to keep that number 2 machine in 14th if he can do so. But very interesting to see these two lines around this joint. It's definitely fantastic for the fans to see side-by-side racing. It leads to cars passing. It leads to cars making mistakes, and it also can lead to contact, as we have already seen here, both in the B main and the A main so far. But it does look like Kyle Lahr will slide back into the 14th position, at least for now. Sean Britzman doing what he needs to do to hold on to the 13th position. We'll see if he can move forward. But looking back at the front, here's Kingsbury in that number 98 machine, trying to get around that number 6 in front of him, Cameron Doyle. I have been very impressed with this number 98 here tonight. Been able to get around a couple of cars, make those passes when it counts, in the 4th position as of right now. Interesting to see all your leaders on the inside line here, Pielster. A lot of the field running that high groove, but looks like your top 5 pretty much running down there on the bottom.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you're looking here on board with Matthew Kingsbury, it looks like Kingsbury's actually opting for the inside line as well. Middle inside lane, trying to keep up with this traffic here. And looks like this is going to be a battle against Cameron Doyle ahead in the 6 car, trying to get around on the outside. It looks like Kingsbury's trying to set up that pass there. But it's going to be a little bit, you just gotta get to him. It's going to take some time and patience. Caution is out, and the replay is going to be the Tidricks is around in that 72 car. Let's get a replay and see what happened to him.
Yeah, BJ Tidricks in the number 7 machine. Oh, contact there with the number 7 machine. And then they went 3 wide. That will not work right there. And a little bit of contact from Casey Tillman in the number 92 machine with the 72 as they were 3 wide. That's what put that number 72 around. But let's see what we can see from the air here. That's Dylan Huffines there in the number 7. Kind of came to the racetrack a little bit. 72 made contact. And then it was right there when they were 3 wide where Casey Tillman and the 72 and Tidricks came together. Fortunately for the 72, he got the bad end of the stick, getting a good chunk of damage on that super late model. The other drivers, they were able to drive away quite significantly well, but you can see that number 7 looks like he might have just clipped the apron on entry into the corner and did a complete 360. Wow, what a fantastic recovery by the number 7 Dylan Huffines to get that number 6 pointed back in the right direction without clobbering the wall or clobbering any other driver. That's the number 7 machine, excuse me. But back up at the front is the number 37 machine, Caden Anderson, leading the way. Done a fantastic job of pretty quickly moving through this field, leading over Travis Barnes in the number 8, another driver who has done a fantastic job. Do want to make note that the number 31 machine, that's Brad Carpenter, who actually won the first A main, or excuse me, the first B main here tonight, was actually 1 lap down. There he is in that number 31. But he is now back on the lead lap with the lucky dog. He was actually running amongst the race leaders when that caution flag came out. That's why when we saw that battle for the 3rd position between Doyle and Kingsbury, it kind of looked like the 5th position because Brad was the black sheep in that group, 1 lap down at that point. But luckily we do have the lucky dogs, at least luckily for Brad, getting himself back onto the lead lap. But luckily for Caden Anderson, leading the way here on lap number 66. We'll have 134 more circles around this place as the sun continues to descend on this place. Pielster, you think it's when do you think we'll start to see the wick turn up amongst these drivers?
Definitely at least around halfway for sure. That's when it starts to, people start to settle into a rhythm, and then when you get into that last quarter of the race, it really heats up. As you run out of time, you want to get going, get around people. Tensions are going to heat up here as the night rolls and track temperatures cool down. We're going to be going green this time here, and green flag is out.
Yeah, Caden Anderson, once again, a fantastic restart in the number 37 machine. Travis Barnes right behind the 37. Not as good of a restart, and that's going to put that number 6 machine of Cameron Doyle right behind the number 8. And let's not count out Kingsbury in that number 98 machine. But here is Mann in the number 90. And last week, I said that machine looked really, really good. Well, that's what his real race car, or excuse me, his dad's race car looks like. So that number 90, I really like that paint scheme. Oh, battle for now for the second position between Doyle and the number 8 machine of Barnes. And Doyle looking to the inside of Barnes, but Barnes going to hold him off here for another lap or two. You can see looking out back of that number 8 machine, looking at the nose of the number 6. Doyle really tried to make that move, but just wasn't able to make it stick, as these two lines are starting to get more and more pronounced here around South Boston in the feature race. See a couple of drivers a little bit further back starting to try it. There's the number 44 of Gormley. Now we've seen Gormley struggle on the inside line, especially on the last restart. He got loose coming out of turn number 2, and he's kind of using that high line. I think possibly that might be, you know, what he has learned in this race, Pilster. And at this point in the race, are you more concerned about saving tires, or you're more concerned about getting positions, or does it really matter where you are on the racetrack?
Well, right now, I would be more concerned about maintaining my position, actually. Defense is very important, because if you start losing, you have to regain them. So maintaining the flow, if a couple drivers get side by side like that, you might want to take advantage of it, but be patient, settle into your run. And I think we have an announcement of a car back on track.
Oh, we have a car going around to the number 4 and the number 90 who've had it coming together. That's Shane Quinn and the number 90. We were just talking about him. Mr. Mann there, Scott Mann. Man, oh man. That was not what you want to see. As you see this on the white TV replay, it looks like the number 4 there just dived to the corner a little bit too much. That is Shane Quinn, was the fastest qualifier here earlier today. Started this race in the 16th position, but I believe he'll probably chap on that one, which means he will, his first accident of the night, just dive to the inside of the number 90. I don't think the number 90 was expecting such a late move from the number 4 machine. You can see that contact. Luckily for those two cars, though, it doesn't look like too much damage on either of them, so they'll be able to get back out there. But we're going to see if we can see this from on board the number 4 machine. Just dove into
right there on the inside, bit of a bump there, and that does get the 90 car around. So yeah, like you said, 4 cars probably going to tap on that, and what that means, that's referring to the tap out rule of the penalty system. If you're 50% or more at fault for the initial case of the caution, you must tap out. Just admit that. When you tap out, you'll receive an end of line penalty. If you cause 2 cautions in one night of racing, you'll be parked for the rest of the night and given last place points, along with being placed on probation for a week. So you want to be careful about that, and just because if you don't admit it and you do not tap, you'll be penalized post-race with a 1-lap penalty. So admitting it's better. We're going to get a driver in here for an interview.
Act Caden Anderson, Peter Short, 3 white booth. You got a copy?
Oh, yeah, I got a copy.
Hey, Caden, great run out so far. You made some moves to get into the race lead. How's that number 37 driving?
It's actually driving really good right now. I'm pretty pleased with how the car is.
Yeah, definitely made some passes on the high groove and on the inside groove. Which groove currently is your preferred groove around this place?
When I'm by myself, definitely the bottom, but passing has got to be the top. Top is quick around here when you're passing people.
All right, well, we'll let you get back to it as there is one to green. Best of luck out there.
Thank you.
All right, well, Caden Anderson up there at the front, and the number 8 machine right behind Caden. And what can Barnes do on this restart? We haven't, it looks like we added a lap, so we're going to go an extra lap here behind the Ford Mustang pace car. But what do you think that second place car can do here? What do you think is going through the 8 car's head here, Pilster? How is he going to get the race lead? As it looks like number 48 has still having connection issues.
Well, really, it's about getting a good restart and not spinning your tires. You want to make sure that you're ready when that pace car pulls off, as we are 1 to green now. So you want to be able to just set up, make sure you get a good start, and hope that the leader doesn't, so you can make a look on a pass coming here into turn 1. Looks like, though, that the 37 car of Anderson is going to be getting a better jump, though. And looks like the 8 car is falling back, so did not work out for them this time.
Yeah, and I'd like to see if we can get a good shot at that number 8 machine. It's like a decent amount of right front damage on the number 8 machine of Travis Barnes. You can see the outside side of that right front tire kind of peeking out there. It's gonna be interesting to see if that comes into effect over the long run. Definitely, if you have a little bit of, ooh, that number 8 machine really sideways coming out of turn number 2. I was just gonna say, having some damage can have some adverse effects on the handling of the car, and we might have seen that right there. He did a fantastic job of backing that number 8 machine up, saving it, and didn't even lose a position to the number 6 machine of Cameron Doyle. So fantastic run there by Barnes, although lost a decent amount of ground on the number 37 machine. Anderson was able to hold on to the second position, see if he can get that woed up and get the car settled down to kind of mount a charge for that number 37 machine, as we're not quite yet to the halfway distance. We're in fact now just 14 laps away from the cross flags, as this is a battle now for the 4th position right behind them. That's Gormley looking on Kingsbury, and Gormley, remember, he was a little bit higher up a little while ago, but that number 44 had a bad restart, got a little bit loose coming out of turn number 2, lost some track position. See the number 9 Kingsbury go to the inside of Cameron Doyle. They're now working their way for Doyle using that high groove. Kingsbury running the inside, and Kingsbury not quite able to get the run off the corner he was looking for. And see if he can kind of set him up now. Kind of going to have to think this one through once again. Oh, Kingsbury got a fantastic drive coming out of turn number 4 this time. No. Yes. Oh man, it's really hard to call this. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no type of deal. As you can just see how difficult it is to pass around this track. Pilster, as a race car driver, you know, how frustrating can it be sometimes when you're around some of these racetracks where it's just difficult to pass.
Yeah, it can definitely be frustrating. You want to make sure that you're using as much track as possible, as you see that Kingsley to the inside of the 6 car of Cameron Doyle, just trying to run a middle inside line, trying to keep the 6 up the track to gain a bit more room. And you can see the 44 car is running that same line, trying to peek in there as well to take advantage of the battle.
Yeah, that number 44 of Gormley, he's just kind of riding this one out, finding which one of these 2 drivers is going to come away with that position and see if he can follow like you said. But yeah, Kingsbury down there on the inside. You can see, though, just how much ground they're losing. Let's see if we can go. We have a caution out there on the racetrack. It'll be interesting to see. Oh, it's the number 3 machine driven by Daniel Masters that has gone around. Looks like he's going to lose a lap here, unfortunately. Let's see what happened here. There's the number 11 machine there. Kyle Franklin making contact with, and the 72 of Tidrick. There, it looks like he got a piece of it, as well as the number 74, Brian Payne, who's multiple laps down. But let's see what we can see here from the chopper cam as they went off into turn number 1 and 2. And ooh, man, maybe the 11 overshot just a little bit, but unfortunately got into the back of that number 3. And you can see the 72 gotten damage on both the front and rear ends, as your race leaders then work their way around the spun number 3 machine. But that will drop the number 3 down a lap. Let's see if we can see this from on board with the 74 of Payne. You can see the spinning number 3 machine up front. Ooh, slammed on the brakes just a little bit too late. That number 3 looks like he was going down the racetrack and then came back up the racetrack, kind of throws a curveball at you. But we're getting a report that the number 90 machine, Scott Mann, has taken it to the garage. So unfortunately, the flames on the front end of that number 90 machine will go no further. But we're just about at the halfway distance. We're going to break away for a brief commercial. We'll be right back with you here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to cut back in from that commercial because we're back to green flag racing here, and Caden Anderson will lead us back to the green flag. The number 8 machine there of Travis Barnes running in the second position, but the battle right now is for the third position. It's basically right where it left off there when we went back to the caution flag, but the number 98 of Kingsbury now is able to get around though, and that's going to open the door here for Gormley in the number 44. Gormley going to take that position, dives it off into turn number 3. Really impressive maneuver there, right on the brakes. And let's not count out this number 19 machine. This is Marshall Peterson. Remember, he started right on the inside of the front row, started this race from the pole, got shuffled back early in this race, but it's kept pretty much all defenders on that number 19. See a little bit of left front damage, but is still up there near the front in the 6th position. And then we have a couple drivers a little bit further back. Here's last week's race winner, the number 22 of Kyle Lahr, and right in front of him, that's the number 82 of Bart Hector Jr. Hector has been very, very fast here in the Northwest Tour presented by Joe's Racing Products, especially last year. So it's interesting to see this number 82 slowly but surely working his way up through this 24 car field. But I'm just going to keep an eye on that number 22 machine. He's been fairly quiet here tonight, starting to make some noise down there on the inside groove, currently running in the 8th position around this racetrack as we have eclipsed the halfway distance. There's the 00 machine driven by Chris Morang and the number 84 of Matt Hackathorn. Remember, those drivers had to transfer through the B main to get to this one, as well as Brad Carpenter there. And Carpenter was one lap down a little while ago. He worked his way back on the lead lap, courtesy of a lucky dog. We'll have to see if he can work his way through the field as he currently runs back there in the 16th position or so. So very interesting to see these drivers out here still on the racetrack. Remember, we've had a couple drivers who've had to have significant time on pit road before coming back onto the racetrack. And with the number 90 taking it to the garage, they will be able to gain a position at least. Looking at this battle now between the 22 of Lahr and 82 machine. And Lahr still trying to use that inside line to his advantage. And Hector still holding that outside line strong. So once again, these two lines working with one another, as we're getting words that the number 48 machine, I believe, Travis McKinney, has taken it to the garage. Remember, McKinney was actually up near the front, led a few laps in this one, had some connection issues, and unfortunately has succumbed to this one, as Kyle Lahr has worked his way up one more position. So see that number 22 machine starting to make some noise, starting to do what he did last week, and really turn up the weight past the halfway distance. As we look a little bit further back, the 42 and the 46, Garrett Huffines and Sean Britzman working on one another, and that 46 holding tough around the outside. We've seen Sean Britzman hold that high line, high, wide, and handsome so far in this one. Been able to hold off a lot of charges from the inside line. Here's BJ Tidrick and the number 4 machine of Shane Quinn. And those two drivers working with one another out there on the racetrack, but that number 4 getting into the outside wall there just a little bit. But you can see how these cars can absolutely take a beating. We saw this last week at USA International, just how damaged these cars can be, but still run pretty darn good there around the racetrack. As Shane Quinn looking to the outside now, Brad Carpenter right in front. These cars really have to start making a move through the field because they are up near the back. And nonetheless, it's a really big battle up here all the way to the field, as the number 19 now is going to get passed by Kyle Lahr to move Lahr up into, I believe, now the 6th position. And Kyle Lahr doing what he did last week, starting to make some noise, laid back for quite some time. But Pielster, what are your thoughts about the 22 machine?
Well, it seems like he's doing a pretty good job so far. Just needs to gain some positions and get up towards the front, though.
Yeah, just 5 cars in front of him. Still running some very, very competitive lap times. You can see the damage on the front end. Remember, Kyle Lahr was involved with the number 11 team machine of Kyle Franklin, so it was a coming together of the Kyles, and unfortunately Kyle Franklin got the bad end of that stick doing a barrel roll in the 11. But Kyle Larr bouncing back quite well as now Meringue is under fire from Tidrick down the back stretch. Tidrick going to use that inside line. I think he's going to take that position here, working through the corner. Indeed, he does. So, still 82 laps to go, and these tires, remember, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just now joining us here on 3 Wide TV, these tires were on these cars when they started this race. There's no changing of tires here in the NorthWest Tour presented by Joe's Racing Product, Joe's Racing Products. So, they're definitely going to be hurting for tires here at this point in the race. And let's see if we can bring up the graphic to show what kind of lap times these drivers are running, because in qualifying they could run mid 14-second ranges. And just to kind of give you so that's their fastest lap of the race right there on the left hand side of your screen. So you see Caden Anderson at 14.976. Let's see if we can get a graphic showing exactly what they're running now, because there has been significant fall off throughout this run. And you know, Pielster, there you go. You can see it at the bottom of your screen. It's not as much as I was thinking, but that tire fall off, how do you manage that as a race car driver?
Tire fallout's definitely a big, especially with a 200-lap race like this. As you can see, Anderson's now dropped down by about 4/10 with a 15.359 that last lap, and lap times will slow down. And we're going to have a wreck right up here in front of this car.
Yeah, that is your race leader, Caden Anderson, who we're still green. Can you believe this? No caution. And that was the number 74 machine of Brian Payne, who we saw spun just in front of the 37 of Caden Anderson. And somehow we stayed green. Looks like the number 3 machine, Daniel Masters, there also getting involved. But they were able to get righted such that we're still green flag racing. I don't know how on earth the flag man needs a shot of adrenaline or something, needs some coffee, maybe he's fallen asleep or something. But yeah, it was the 11 machine there, Kyle Franklin, who had it coming together. Great heads-up driving by Caden Anderson and the number 98 of Kingsbury. But that is going to bring the 8 machine of Travis Barnes right back into the picture. It's 98. And the 37 had scooted away. They're starting to do so once again under this long green flag run, but that was crazy. I don't think I've ever seen that crazy of an accident, Pielster, that didn't bring out the caution.
Yeah, you had 2 cars right up on the racing surface in front of the leader, and great job by Anderson avoiding that. I would definitely have been a bit scared about getting involved with that, but cooler heads prevail, and Anderson was able to get around unscathed. Here we are with battle for 5th between the 6 car and the 22. That's going to be Cameron Doyle and Kyle Larr.
Yeah, and Larr doing what he did last week, starting to make his way up towards the front in the second half of the race. Larr started this race, I believe, from the 15th position or so, but remember, actually did have to take an EOL because he was last week's winner. There is a rule here in the NorthWest Tour that last week's top 3 finishers have to take an EOL at the start of the race. So Kyle Larr, even though he on paper started this race in the 15th position, actually had to get shoved all the way to the rear. So that number 22 machine has passed a lot of race cars. It's got some damage on it, but definitely trying to get around the number 6 machine of Doyle here as we have now under 70 laps to go. Going to try the high side now. Ran down there on the inside line, couldn't make a pass down there, but the number 22, man, what a run coming out of turn number 2. And Larr will presumably take that position as the number 6 machine got loose and move Kyle Larr up into the top 5. What a run.
Yeah, no kidding. And one thing you were mentioning about those top 3, they did have to start in the back, so fighting through traffic to get back up to the front. The good news is they do receive passing points based on where they would have been in the grid off of qualifying, so that is a bit of relief if they're not able to fight through all of the traffic, but it's definitely an incentive. Make sure those top 3 drivers, as you can tell, they're really fast drivers, so give them a bit of an extra challenge of trying to work their way up through the field.
Yeah, and your top finishers from last week who had to receive an EOL was Kyle Larr, Bart Hector, and Chance Crum. But I don't think we've seen Crum in this race tonight, so he was able to scoot by without receiving that EOL penalty. But definitely it's a shame to not see Crum in this one. A little bit further back, this is the number 42 and the number 46. We've seen Fines and Britzman fighting out for this position for a good period of time now. And what about that number 92 of Tillman? Tillman, remember, was in the B main, actually had to transfer into the A main through that race, did so, and is now here running, I believe, inside the top 10. Yes, just inside the top 10 in the 10th position. So good run for him, up 8 spots from where he started, trying to get around that number 7 machine in front of him. That's Dylan Huffines. And Huffines started up near the front, but unfortunately lost a couple positions early on. Possibly might have been saving his tires. Look at Britzman running way up there on the wall. Kind of reminds me, reminiscent of like a Dale Earnhardt Jr. line around Old Michigan. But my oh my, that number 46 is pretty fast, and I think Britzman's actually going to take Tillman here if they go up.
Around the outside, coming for the 92 car as well. Spots just like that. Yeah, going on by, making that sideline really work. But the 92 car is able to hold off for now. Tillman is, no, actually 46 does get by, so that's going to be a couple spots right there for Sean Britzman. Fantastic driving around the outside there.
Yeah, Britzman definitely doing a fantastic with that high line, being really patient in that number 46 machine to make those moves. But now let's see what the number 42 machine can do underneath Casey Tillman. And Tillman going to hold on to that spot there down the front stretch. Ooh, looks like Tillman's coming back on Britzman there. But, man, it's really cool to call this, but we have a caution out. Oh, it's right in front of them. And that's the number 3 machine, Daniel Masters. We've seen Masters have a couple of things here tonight, and that's also Seth Frazier, number 32 machine, who had a very solid run going. We hadn't talked about that number 32 all too much. Oh,
yeah, it looks like 32 in the wall by themselves, it looks like. And then, yeah, just wonder what happened there, man. You can come in there and find out what happened.
Let's see what happened here on the replay. Now, yeah. 32 was actually going, or already was a lap down, I do believe. Was letting cars by, and I think just got into the outside wall a little bit. And unfortunately for Kyle Franklin, kind of got into it with some of the other cars there, got bumped a little bit, and then the 3 of Daniel Masters had nowhere to go there. So let's go on board here with the number 11 machine, Kyle Franklin. You see that contact right there. There's nothing really the 11 machine could do. My question is, was it the number 6 machine of Cameron Doyle? As Britzman looks like he got a piece of it. Let's see what happened here. Let's see if it was the 6 machine who got into it with the number 11. Looks like I don't know if we'll be able to exactly see from this one. But man, oh man, that was, oof, yeah, that's, I believe, Britzman there. But I think he net-coded through that. So sometimes net-code can be on your side in iRacing. I think that's exactly what happened there. So this is the number 6 machine of Doyle. We'll watch him go around. There's the number 11 machine. Oh, no, it was the 22 Kyle Lahr who made contact there. You see the 6 machine did get a little bit of contact, but might have coded through that number 11 machine. So not what Kyle Lahr wanted to have happen. Remember, Lahr's had some contact here tonight. Don't think that he will tap that one at all, but definitely just kind of succumbing to that situation. But for Caden Anderson, still leading the way here. Been a very good showing from this 37 car. Pretty much all the race through. But Pielster, now that we're going to have just under 50 laps to go, how are you going to handle this race going forward?
Well, you just want to keep the pace up halfway. You do have some caution laps to cool down a bit, reset your mental state, get ready for the second half here. With a lot of restarts, though, caution laps do save your tires. That's helpful in the long run. We're going to be 1 to green this time by. The thing is also, restarts also provide opportunities for battles. And when you're battling another driver, it will take more tires out of you. So you got to be careful about that. You don't want to give up those spots. That's very important.
Green flag back in the air. Caden Anderson, good restart. Kingsbury staying right with that number 37, the number 8 machine right behind. And really good race out of Travis Barnes in that number 8 as Kyle Barnes is trying to get around Gormley in the 44. Remember, Kyle Lahr, last week's race winner at USA. Can Kyle go 2 for 2? He's only got 50 laps now to do so, as we are really running out of time for him as they go across the start-finish line and get that lap to go signal. So what can these drivers do with the number 37 machine leading the way? Caden Anderson led pretty much half of this event so far. This is the battle that we watch right now. This is the battle for the 4th position. The 44 of Gormley on the high side, Lar on the inside. Barnes just in front of them. That 22 machine just being patient. Wow, the 44 really dove it off there. 3. Not quite sure if that's exactly what he... Oh, the 8 machine! What happened to Barnes? Did he get loose coming out of turn number 4 and hit the inside wall? Let's see if we can see this on the replay. What happened here, Pilster?
Oh, taking a look at the 8 of Barnes coming in here onto the corner. Looks like, yeah, a little bit of loose on exit there into the wall, like you said. And that's going to slow them down a lot and these 2 spots, maybe even 3.
Yeah, so definitely that number 8 machine suffering here as now we have a battle for the race lead. So battles all over the racetrack all of a sudden. It's definitely go time here at Sobo as Kingsbury has caught Caden Anderson. Let's go on board with the number 98 machine. Running that improved 37 steadfast to the inside line. And you can see Kingsbury definitely getting a good run coming out of the corner. That 37 scraping the wall just a little bit. And we've heard from the drivers that if you're on that inside line, it's really hard to get the power down. But Caden Anderson here doing a fantastic job of getting power down. I'm thinking that might be due to the fact that that number 37 has fresh air on that node. That clean air adding quite a bit of downforce in that number 37 machine and definitely rocketing out of the corner. Kingsbury losing just a little bit of ground. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Oh, battle for the third position. Yeah, Kyle Larmk in that move under Gormley. Remember, they were side by side just a little bit ago, but Kyle Larm will make that pass. And I gotta say, one thing about that number 22 machine, he is very fast, he's very patient, and when he gets the opportunity to make a move, he does so. We saw this last week at USA. Ooh, looks like we got some smoke on the racetrack. Someone possibly blew a motor. We'll have to see who that is. Maybe one of the damaged cars out there. Oh, it's Kyle Franklin in the number 11. That 11 Jegs machine has had not the best of nights. Done a barrel roll, but that will do it for that 11 machine. He's going to find his pit box, I'm sure. But here we go. The battle for the race lead has calmed down between Caden Anderson and the number 98 of Kingsbury. However, Kyle Larr in that number 22 machine with 39 laps to go is slowly but surely closing in. And Pilster, how important is it now for that number 22 to get his head down, hit his marks, and close in on those top 2?
Oh, it's extremely important, and with the current pace he's been going at, I think he'll be able to do it. He's been fighting through traffic this whole time, and, well, as you've seen so far for most of the race, it has been Anderson up in front there, but Kyle Larr is coming for that first couple of spots here, and that's going to mix things up towards the end of the race, I think.
And what about these 42 of Huffines? Britzman, once again, they find themselves together on the racetrack. They've been together probably for the last 50 or so laps. They're trying to get their way around the number 7 of Huffines. Dylan Huffines, brother of the number 42 machine, here tonight. Now, they had a not so good race last week at USA, but here tonight, both of the Huffines brothers doing pretty well here, just around the 10th position or so. As the laps continue to wind down, now just 35 laps to go. Sean Britzman there in the number 46, trying to see if he can get his way around the Huff fight, see if he can not get tag teamed by the 2 brothers. Is that number 42 now? Ooh, the 46 might have popped the wall there just a little bit too much. You see the 42 way down there on the apron, trying to do everything he can to get around the 46, but just unable to make that low line work to his advantage. And very interesting to see that him trying to use that apron. Kind of said that there are opportunities to use that apron if you're much faster than the other cars around you, but it definitely doesn't seem to be helping that 42 get that drive through the center of the corner. There he goes once again using that apron. Got the number 7 of his brother to his outside. We'll see if the Huffines can... Oh, wow! Oh, that's the 42 Garrett Huffine in the inside wall there. As we ride on board with them, he saw it get loose out of the corner, and Peels, how difficult is it for the race driver to save a car that's that sideways?
It's extremely difficult, and I think that Huffine did a great job saving the car. Still green out here. And it's definitely difficult when you're trying to make that pass because for most of your run, you're used to being able to use the full racing surface. You don't have anyone to your side, but then when you are trying to make that pass, you have to slow it down because you're not able to use as much of the racetrack. And that does make it difficult, and when you give it a little bit too much throttle on quarter exit, that can happen. So that does provide an opportunity now for Britzman to get around Dylan Huffines here, and because right before that, Britzman was trapped with far on his inside, but now that does open an opportunity for a pass.
And what about this battle out there on the racetrack for 6 Machine Cameron Doyle and Bart Hector Jr. in that number 82? And Bart Hector, he's been one of those drivers who's been pretty patient all night long. Now starting to make some noise just outside the top 5, I do believe, in those positions. There's the number 46 of Britzman right behind the number 7 right there. Still just, ooh man, that number 7, that's Dylan Huffines. Again, a little bit sideways himself, so the Huffines brothers all of a sudden starting to really struggle with those rear tires. Remember, they are on the tire they started this race, so no tires have been changed in this race throughout the entire field, and they're definitely starting to feel it out there on the racetrack. Looking a little bit further back is Brad Carpenter, winner of the first B main today, running with the number 911 machine. Adam Holm to his outside, and we talked to Adam a little bit earlier after his B main. And right behind them, Shane Quinn in the number 4. And remember, Shane was the fastest qualifier, started this race in the 16th position, and unfortunately just has not gone. And ooh, look at this, Casey Tillman in the number 92 and the 42. That's one of your Huffine brothers again. That's Garrett Huffines. Remember, I think actually the 42 lost this position when he got loose a couple laps ago, so he's trying to get back around Tillman in that 92 to get that position back and see if he can close back in on his brother and the 46 machine of Britzman, but unable to do so just yet. That 42, once again, still just holding down there on the inside groove. But 21 laps to go. You're not missing all too much up at the front of the field. The 37 machine, Caden Anderson's pulled away to a pretty decent lead over Kingsbury. There's the gap, about 1 second. So for now, it's clean sailing for that number 37 machine. But a caution flag could change everything. I say that, and we'll have to wait and see if there is a caution flag. At least for now, Caden Anderson is just clean sailing out there, and Pilster, you know, that is the feeling you want to have up there at the front.
Yeah, absolutely. You get some room to breathe. You can save your tires a bit for the end, and that's one thing a lot of these drivers, as you see here with the 911 of Adam Holm and the 4 car of Shane Quinn. They're battling it out. Very fast drivers here, as you mentioned. Quinn had the fastest lap time, and you saw Hahn up there in top spots in the earlier race today. And that's the thing, like, they're stuck in traffic, and they're really fast, but traffic does slow you down quite a bit. It's amazing. So even if you're one of the faster drivers out there, just being able to work around, big wreck, big wreck!
And the
like the 42, the 7, and the 4 are into it.
Yeah, the Huffine brothers, the 7 and 42, both getting a piece of that one. I think that might have happened there between the 7 and the 46 of Britzman. Oh no, it looks like it happened in front of them. Oh my gosh,
46,
that is...
yep, it's men there, both of the brothers there, and we got the 4 car of Shane Quinn, so
I think that might have happened up there with the 6 machine and the 80. Bart Hector dove it in on the 6 machine.
Yep, right there.
Yeah, the 82 checked up, and they were 3 or 4 wide there, and you just can't do that. And cars all of a sudden spinning everywhere, and man, so many cars involved in that one, including Shane Quinn there in the 4 machine. So let's see if we can ride on board with this driver. This is the 42 machine. You can see cars starting to scatter everywhere, and oh boy, all of a sudden, that is Garrett Huffines, I do believe. And fortunately for Garrett, just ran out of room right there at the end when his brother Dylan Huffines kind of came across. Here we go, on board with the number 46 machine of Sean Britzman. You can see him, he is down there on the apron, and he realizes that it wasn't gonna work. He tried to stay down there as low as possible. Got caught in the right rear and sent up into the wall. And you see him driving that race car backwards. That's not what you want to have happen. But that is definitely going to be interesting. That is going to change the complexion of this race. It looked like Caden Anderson had a easy win, but we are going to have a caution flag. It's going to bunch the field back together. And let's see if we can talk to the number 22 machine of Kyle Lahr. Kyle Lahr, Peter Short here in the 3-wide TV booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, man, I got you.
Well, Kyle, you've worked way through this field pretty much all race long. You won last week's race at USA, but there's 2 cars in front of you. You're going to get this checkered flag here tonight.
What was that, man? Sorry, there's a bunch of people talking in the race chat right now.
I was just going to say you won last week's race. How are you going to win this one here tonight?
Honestly, man, if I don't win it, I don't win it. As long as I can get a good finish for my points, I'll just be happy.
Well, definitely thinking towards the end tally at the end of the season already in the second race. We're 1 green, so we'll let you get back to it, Kyle.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that is currently your 3rd place runner, Kyle Lahr. And my, oh my, it's going to be an interesting finish to see if that number 22 can work his way to get the checkered flag. Single file restart for this one. You have Kingsbury right on the back bumper of Anderson, and Anderson leaves it a little bit late, and the number 98 got a pretty good restart. There's only about a car length between the number 98 and 37, less than that actually, about half a car length. And let's go on board with the number 22 of Kyle Lahr. Works his way through turn number 3 and 4. You can see him trying late apex turn number 4 there to see if he can get a good run up off the corner and see if he can squeak his nose to the inside of the number 98 machine, but have inside 10 laps to go. And Pielster, he's now running the high line. You think that's what he's going to try and use to get this pass done?
Yeah, looks like it. I think I'm in Kyle Lahr's position. I'm hoping that the top 2 start to battle it out, and you can just take advantage of that and go right around them both. You might even see a 3 wide towards the finish here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure that's exactly what the 22 is hoping to see if the top 2 can get racing with one another, but unable to do so just yet. Caden Anderson stretching it out just a little bit, already up to 0.4 of a second. There was some racing a little bit further back between, I believe, Barnes and Gormley. Gormley in the 4th position, Barnes in the 5th position. Now Boyle holds on to 6th. Peterson's in the 7th position. That number 19 after that contact in that lap that came out. Matt Hackathorn almost inside the top 10. We haven't really mentioned his name in the A main. Remember, he used the B main to get into this one. So some interesting racing there a little bit further back. There's Hackathorn. Hackathorn using that really high line. We saw him use that in the B main. And there's Shane Quinn in the 4 machine right behind him. Quinn trying to get as far forward as he can here with only 4 laps to go. He was the fastest qualifier, so there's definitely pace in that 4 machine. Unfortunately, quite a bit of damage. Looks like he actually will make that pass around Hackathorn, move him up into the 11th position. But up at the front, the number 37, Caden Anderson, only 3 laps to go. And let's see if we can, see what's happening right back behind him. Kyle Lahr. Lahr got really high there on the racetrack. I don't think that's going to help him as he gets out of the groove. But this race has come to an end pretty darn quickly. Only 0.4 of a mile here around Sobo. And Caden Anderson just 0.4 of a mile away from the checkered flag, white flag in the air here at South Boston Raceway. And wow, Caden Anderson really putting on a show here. This last half of the race has gone exactly the way the number 37 was hoping it was gonna be. All the people with their cameras as the number 37 takes the checkered flag for round 2 of the NorthWest Tour presented by Joe's Racing Products. Wow, what an absolute fantastic race, Pielster. This number 37, a clean race car out there. Not many other cars like that, and definitely a pretty fantastic race. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. What a fantastic race. Anderson was able to take the victory by just really staying out of trouble up front the whole time. That is exactly where you want to be on a short track.
Yeah, definitely getting that track position is key, as the number 37 trying to do some burnouts there on the front straight. And remember that these drivers will often get questioned about their tires after the race, so you have to take a screenshot actually of your tire usage at the end of the race. But I don't think he ever went down pit road, so that's probably a sign that number 37 didn't skirt by any of the rules. We'll see if he can roll back and see if we get a picture of your top 3 finishers. But that number 37, Caden Anderson, fantastic race. There's the number 22, Kyle Lahr, back-to-back weeks, top 3 finishes. Very, very impressive. Kingsbury actually has left the racetrack in that number 98 machine, so we'll have to see if we can catch up with your top 3 finishers here in just a moment. We'll be able to get interviews, but we're going to take a quick break here. Caden Anderson, your race winner. We'll be right back here on 3 Wide TV. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to South Boston, Virginia, where nighttime has descended over the racetrack with the number 37 machine coming home as the race winner. We're actually going to talk to your 4th place finisher tonight. That is Ryan Gormley, and let's see if we can get him here into our room here for the interview. And here he is, Ryan Gormley, Peter Short here on 3 Wide TV. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, man, you were able to make some good moves out there on the racetrack. Really patient night out of you. I mean, it was kind of a quiet night, and sometimes a quiet night's a good night. Here tonight, coming home with 4th position. You pretty much were up there in the top 8, top 10 all race long. But kind of tell us about the race from your perspective.
Yeah, I just really wanted tires out there. I had to keep an eye on the 22. But from watching your guys' replay, how he was able to keep tires and work his way. If I could stay in front of the 20. If I could stay in front of the 22, I knew I was gonna have a pretty good night. So.
Yeah, well, you definitely weren't quite able to stay in front of the number 22, but coming home with a 4th place is a very, very respectable around a very difficult racetrack like this. But speaking of racetracks. The next race we have on the calendar is Rockingham Speedway. Now, it's going to be really interesting to see these super late models going around Rockingham, which is just for a mile in length. So what are your thoughts about going to Rockingham here in the next round?
I'm looking forward to it to see how this handles and see what kind of setup we have put together. I know there's going to be a lot of downforce. These cars put down a little bit more horsepower than some of the Cup cars now. So downforce and getting the car to turn in this.
Yeah, definitely should be a lot of fun. Rockingham, lots of tire wear and also a lot of bumps and a lot of horsepower with these super late models. We're definitely looking forward to it. Before we let you go, you got any shout-outs for us?
Yeah, I'd just like to say thanks to my wife for allowing me to put so much time into this. She's very tolerant, and I'd just like to say thanks to Wrestler Motors. That's my place of employment. If you guys ever need to buy a new or used car, a new Toyota, or here in the Northwest, best price.
All right. Well, Ryan, we're looking forward to seeing you back on the racetrack at Rockingham Speedway. But until then, best of luck, bud.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate your everything.
All right. Well, that was driver of the number 44 machine coming home in P number 4. So fours are wild for him here tonight. But I do believe that Pielster has caught up with your second place, or excuse me, the Kyle Larr in the number 22 machine, third place finisher.
Hey, Kyle Larr, Pielster with the 3-wide booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, man, I got a copy.
All right, so what are your thoughts on this race today and how your car was?
It was a blast. I just kind of wasted my stuff coming out the field and just didn't have anything for the top 2 guys at the end. If I could get it to rotate better too in the center, I may have had some, but like I said, I wasted my stuff.
Yeah, I hear you. You're definitely trying really hard out there. And so next week we are going to Rockingham. So what might you do differently at Rockingham than here at South Boston?
To be honest, I've never raced Rockingham before. I have to buy the track.
All right, first time over at the track. That's pretty good, new experience. And anyone you want to give a shout out?
Yeah, everybody at 3YV and the iRacing NorthWest Tour, Joe's Racing Products, my mom, my dad, my fiance, and everybody else that supports me.
All right, well, thanks for coming on, Kyle. Have a great day.
You guys, so I got these.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, that is your third finisher, the number 22 of Kyle Larr. Don't think we're going to be able to catch up with your second place finisher here tonight, unfortunately. The number 98 machine of Kingsbury, but nonetheless, we are going to catch up with your race winner. That is the number 37 of Caden Anderson down in Victory Lane. And Caden, my oh my, what an absolute fantastic run for you here tonight. Led a huge number of laps, 167 of 200 laps. Just how important was clean air on the nose of that 37 machine?
Oh, it's huge having clean air here. This track is a very small track, so being in the middle pack or even towards the back is very bad because there's nowhere for you to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And just how important was it for you to get out front earlier? Was that kind of your goal, your game plan, to get up front as quick as possible? Because we saw you racing through the field really, really quickly. I mean, you made some fantastic moves to get up to the front. You started in 9th, and 33 laps or so, you were leading this event. So was that your game plan?
My game plan was to get to the front quickly, but I was going to be patient doing it. I wasn't going to rush anything. But there was a few people that just let me go by because they didn't want to wreck, and it just gave me more opportunity to get to the front faster.
Yeah, you definitely had a little bit of luck there in the early going, keeping that number 37 machine clean, and I got to congratulate you on that fact. It doesn't look like there's a scratch on that 37 machine. I know you caught the wall a couple times, you scuffed up the right side, but compared to most of the other race cars, that number 37 is looking pretty darn clean in Victory Lane. But we go from South Boston, a very tight 4/10 of a mile racetrack over to Rockingham, just over a mile in length. So it's going to be a very different racetrack, lots of horsepower, lots of downforce, lots of grip, but also a lot of tire fall off. And of course, with these tires, you're unable to come down pit road and change them. What's Rockingham going to look like for you?
Rockingham, it's one of my favorite tracks. Sobo is by far my favorite track. So going to Rockingham, being one of my other top tracks, I'm really excited.
Well, that is to hear. Yeah, Rockingham, kind of like me, that's one of my favorite racetracks to go to. Definitely is a lot different than a lot of the other racetracks that, stock cars can go to. It races unlike any other mile racetrack. So looking forward to Rockingham, and just like myself. It's kind of, shifting gears over to the long haul. Let's look at point standings type question here. How important is it for you to get a win this early in the season and kind of get your season going well on the good foot?
It's really good. We had a 4th place finish last week at USA, which was really good. I ended up 3rd overall after points, and this is going to boost my points a lot. I'm really excited. I mean, points are huge, especially when you're running for championships, so no mistakes here.
Absolutely. Definitely good to see. Before we let you go, you got any shout-outs for us here on 3Wide TV?
Yeah, I wanted to give a shout-out to Joe's Racing Products and Mike Wood for sponsoring this race.
Definitely very cool. Well, before we head on off here on 3Wide TV, we want to just give you a congratulatory kazoo. Hopefully we have that lined up in the background. But nonetheless, congratulations, and we'll see you in a couple weeks' time at Rockingham.
Thank you.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is tonight's race winner, the number 37 machine of Caden Anderson. Let's see if we can get your final results teed up for you. Here, the unofficial results. Of course, everything will be looked at. Race will be reviewed from by the admins, that sort of thing. But coming home with the victory here tonight, Caden Anderson, like we just said, finishing in the 2nd position. Matthew Kingsbury unable to get a post-race interview, but definitely a fantastic run for that number 98 Fazoli's machine. Kyle R comes home with 3rd. A 1st place last week and a 3rd place this week. Definitely that number 22 showing some pace this season. Ryan Gormley in the number 44 machine comes home 4th. Travis Barnes 5th. Cameron Doyle rounds out your top 6. Marshall Peterson started in the 1st position because he qualified 16th, and with the inversion, he did slide back to the 7th position. Nonetheless, good top 10 for him. Casey Tillman transferred in from the B main and comes home with an 8th place finish here tonight. Bart Hector Jr. comes home in 9th, and Adam Holm rounds out your top 10. And that rounds out your top 10. And take it away, Peelster.
Yeah, so we are going to be going over to Rockingham next week, and we do hope to see all of you there. Thanks for watching. Oh, flip through 20. Closing out our top 20, we do have Shane Quinn, Matt Hackthorne, Brad Carpenter, BJ Tidrick, Garrett Huffines, Dylan Huffines, Chris Marang, Sean Bretzman, Daniel Masters, and rounding out top 20, Seth Fraser.
And your last few cars out there on the racetrack, the number 74, Brian Hank, involved in a couple of accidents tonight. Unfortunately, a pretty painful night for him. Kyle Frankman, another driver out there that had a lot of pain. He ended upside down at one point in this race, but comes home 22nd. Scott Mann comes home 23rd, and Travis McKinney comes home in 24th after a couple connection issues and a couple of scuffles out there on the racetrack. But nonetheless, the NorthWest Tour presented by Joe's Racing Products will go to the Rockingham Speedway in round 3. We're looking forward to it here on 3Wide. First shout out is to our friends over at SimTV for the camera angles each and every week. I also want to give a shout out to our friends over at OCR TV for these graphics that allow us to present to you each and every race here on YouTube. Well, for myself, Peter Short, and Peelster, and, of course, Carlos Acosta in the production truck, we want to give each and every one of you a fantastic night, and we'll see you next time here on 3Wide TV. See ya!